Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. I see you guys have determined so far that Donald Trump doesn't change his diaper. It's probably true. Probably just sits in it, stews in it, gives himself a nice diaper rash. That is so gross. All right. Well, there is always so much insanity going on in the MAGA realm. And this week is obviously no different. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene that is claiming that Democrats control the weather, because of course they do. Of course they do, because the evil villain Democrats, that's what they do. They control things like the weather. Also, we've got some old videos of Marjorie Taylor Greene we want to take a look at. We're gonna go back and look at all the crazy stuff that Marjorie Taylor Greene believes, including, you know what, guys? It's time to revisit. It's time to revisit Jewish space lasers. It's time. We're gonna check out the MAGA Brawl 2024. Be there and be square. October 7th, MAGA Brawl. We've got a Taylor Swift fan sorry, not a Taylor Swift fan. Apparently not. We have a guy who bought a guitar for $4,000 and then smashed it with a hammer in front of a bunch of children. Really good people. Really good people. We've got Rob Schneider claiming that Dikembe Mutombo died from the jab. Not from the brain cancer he had. No, not from that. From the jab. Golf. Yeah, I know, golf. That's one of the reasons I wanted to watch this video. Is because, yeah, who smashes a guitar like that? This man has obviously never watched a live band smash a guitar. It was really, really crazy. You can make it rain, Reverend. You can make it. Oh, yeah, Native American dancing? Yes. That's how they did it. The Democrat, was it Elizabeth Warren? Did Elizabeth Warren make it rain? Was that what it was? Hey, what up, Ripe Light? I had fun in your channel the other day, banning people. Appreciate you, dude. I love what you're doing. That was good times. Yeah, the jab they got 2 years ago. Like, I don't know if I ever told you guys these stories, but somebody I know, their wife joined QAnon. Like, literally joined QAnon. Not, like, just, like, spread misinformation. Not, like, just, talked about certain things. Like, literally, like, believed everything that the QAnon people believe. And she actually, during the point where this man was trying to work things out, not get a divorce. He's a good dude. He was trying to work things out, not get a divorce. She was claiming that if he got the vaccine, that he could spread the vaccine through the air to her. And I believe this is correct. I might be wrong about the number of years, but I know she did tell him that he was gonna die. Now, mind you, at this point they haven't decided to get divorced or anything. And she, at this point, told him if he got the vaccine, he was gonna die. And I believe it was within 5 years. Like, I was like, why don't you just say 50, right? Like, if you really want to just, like, throw a number out there, you could be like these conspiracy theorists, these cult members that believe the world's ending, and you just say, like, 2021 or 2012, and you just keep moving it around, right? It's one of these things that drives me nuts about conspiracy theorists is when they say things like, yeah, well, it's a conspiracy now, but 30 years from now, it'll be the truth. And it's like, yeah, if you tell somebody that they're going to die and you're like, it's going to be because of a specific thing, then I kind of feel like you have to prove that. I mean, to be right? Like, I mean, you're obviously right that they were going to die, but I could pretty much just tell everybody that they're going to die and be right. I mean, we haven't gotten to the immortality place yet. Yeah, if you guys haven't gone and subscribed to Right Play, go subscribe to Right Play. I love Right Play. He's my dude. Why aren't you watching the largest rally? Oh, dude, Bob, shut up, Bob. I cannot watch. Like, good God, I looked at that lineup and I was like, oh my God, that's going to be the largest rally of victimhood this country has ever seen. And that is saying something. We might pop over to take we might, you know, it's always fun to voyeur for like a minute, like 5 minutes. It's fun to voyeur. But it's kind of like I was saying about X the other day. You get on Twitter, and Twitter is like the most depressing, insane, weird social media platform you've ever seen in your life. And that's saying something. Like, that is 100% saying something. Because social media is a pretty weird place in the first place. But you get on Twitter, dude, I'm thinking about opting out after about 5-10 minutes of reading this shit in there. I'm like, there is no hope for humanity. Maybe we just go dig a hole. Maybe we just go lay down and sleep under the ground for a while. Just fucking bringing the dirt over myself. Just fucking, it's okay. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And Trump rallies do the same thing to me. It's massive. It is like probably like I saw that he averages 5,000 people, and he tells people he averages 50,000. That's like the funniest thing. It's like, yeah, I get 40 people in here. And I'm like, that's pretty dope. You know, my wife once said, you know, when I used to have only like, I get like 100 views on a video, and she'd go, well, imagine if like 100 people showed up and listened to you talk. That'd be pretty cool, right? And I was like, yeah, actually, you know what? Hey, that's a good point of view. So it's like one of those things that for me, it seems weird. It seems weird that somebody would need to exaggerate their rally size. Like, right? Like, if 5,000 people showed up to your rally, I mean, first of all, you just don't even have to talk about your rally size. It's kind of like talking about the size of your penis. You know, it's like, it's not really necessary. In fact, no one's probably going to ask you about it. Most likely, no one's ever going to ask you about your rally size, dude. It's such a weird thing to like constantly want to bring up. And I'm pretty sure if he sat down in front of like a therapist, like, can you imagine Donald Trump sitting in front of a therapist? They're like, okay, so tell me about your childhood. And he's like, my rallies are the biggest rallies. There are no rallies like my rallies. Nobody leaves my rallies. And if they do leave my rallies, I'll shut them down immediately. And the therapist is like, okay. All right, but anyways, about your childhood? Oh, dude. It's just, I can't. I can't. Tired? You gonna start a channel? Let's do it. Let's do it. I want Tired to have a channel. Reverend, make it happen. Okay? That's your job, Reverend. Anyways, let's take a look at the Marjorie Taylor Greene craziness. Because, guys, I made this joke. Just a few days ago, on stream, I said they are going to try to blame Democrats for creating hurricanes. Like, you can't even make a joke anymore without it, like, being true with these people. You can think of, like, the dumbest conspiracy theory, and it will, like, they're like, dude, that is truth. I could get at least 10,000 clicks off that. Marjorie Taylor Greene pushes dumbest Hurricane Helene conspiracy yet. Yet! I said this. I was like, how much you want to make a bet? They're going to claim Democrats created the hurricanes. And if you guys don't know what cloud seeding is a real thing. But if you don't understand how difficult cloud seeding is, it's almost impossible, right? Like, we think that what happened over in Abu Dhabi was potentially because of cloud seeding, the rains this year. But even that, like, scientists can't prove in any way, shape, or form. They're just like, it seems like maybe like they got as much rain as they did because of cloud seeding. Like, you could actually, like, if you were like an intelligent Republican, I know, guys, I know, doesn't exist. But if there was an intelligent Republican, the actual thing that the argument you'd want to make would be people shouldn't mess with the weather, because this is the actual scientific argument behind this. You shouldn't mess with the weather because it could have unforeseen consequences, right? Like, that would be what you'd really want to do, is you'd want to say something along the lines of, you know, if we keep messing around with the weather, we could do something on accident, which would be kind of what happened in Abu Dhabi. If you guys don't remember, there's a ton of rain in Abu Dhabi. It flooded the streets. But like I said, even with them messing around in cloud seeding, they don't even know that that's why that happened. There's no evidence or proof that they were able to show that what they were doing worked, right? So if you were a smart Republican, once again, I understand it doesn't exist, but if they did, you would be able to say to yourself, like, oh, like, they shouldn't be cloud seeding. But no. Where does Marjorie Taylor Greene go with this? Marjorie Taylor Greene not only says that Democrats created a hurricane, but then she goes on to say that the hurricane was directed, guys. Directed. She implies that the path of the hurricane was somehow controlled to be sent only to Republican areas. Like, I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene understands how hurricanes work, bro. Like, I mean, you can, like, determine where hurricanes are created, right? Like, we understand the bare basic minimum of hurricane creation. Like, you know, the hot and the cold and the mixing. So we understand, like, where they're likely. That's why we know when hurricane season is. It's why we can, like, monitor these things. But if you understand that, you understand that other than if you're Donald Trump and you have a Sharpie, sometimes it's even difficult to determine exactly where the hurricane's going to hit when it's formed, right? Like, there's all these news that are like, okay, it might touch land, it might not touch land. Oh, it moved, now it's going to hit all kinds of land. You don't just, like, it's not like a top or something like that. You don't just, like, get it spinning and then send it on its way. Like one of those, remember you have that little line and you pull it and the top spins and then it runs off. Like, that's not how hurricanes work, dog. What if he hurts? You can't just point the hurricane at the Republicans. Now, if you want to have a real conversation as to why Republicans are more adversely affected by the hurricane, we can have that conversation. Because, you see, Democrats tend to live in big cities. Democrats tend to live in urban areas. Now, Republicans, on the other hand, conservatives, MAGA, they tend to live in rural areas. And look, this Hurricane Helene was nasty. And my heart goes out to anybody affected by it. It doesn't matter what political affiliation. Doesn't matter if you're conservative, Democrat, independent, non-political, whatever, man. Like, you're a human being, you're an American. Being affected by the devastation of this hurricane is insane, and my heart goes out to those people, right? But some of these people live in these extremely rural areas where at this point they're so cut off from anybody else that after this hurricane, it damaged the roads, the infrastructure to the small towns that they live in, that like the National Guard is having to helicopter in supplies to these people. Like, if you are a person that doesn't like mail-in voting and you live in a rural town in the middle of nowhere and a hurricane hits your town and cuts you off from everybody else and you're like, goddamn Democrats, you're trying to take away my ability to vote. That's your fault. That's literally your fault. You are the person who created this. This is your fault. This isn't Democrats' fault. This is your fault. It's fucking insane. Like I said, if you want to have a conversation about why Republicans are more affected when it comes to the possibility to vote in this election because of this hurricane, we can have that conversation. But you're not going to like what gets said because it's not going to be some kind of crazy-ass conspiracy theory about Democrats creating hurricanes and then sending them down a specific pathway to take out the Republicans. If Democrats could do that, wouldn't they just do it like all the time? Wouldn't it be like 3 times a week? Why would it be like 1 time? Wouldn't Democrats like, dude, now I'm starting to think about like Democrats are like, it's because of the Jewish space laser. Exactly, tired. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Look, if Democrats were weather wizards, and I'm picturing this in my head now, right? Like AOC with a big pointy hat, some long flowing robes, and sleeves, big sleeves that hang down, and she's out like on a cliff with a wand, and she's like fucking Vabala Babala Florida. And then she sends the hurricane, and it fucking starts to like a tornado comes up off the cliff, and it fucking runs down, and it's like there's a Republican, there's another Republican, and it's picking up Republicans and fucking flinging them everywhere. Like Republicans are landing on other Republicans, like Republican shrapnel. Don't you think Democrats would be doing that shit all the time? Don't you think like Joe Biden has dealt with so much shit? Joe Biden has dealt with so much like criticism from the right, so much bullshit from the right. If Joe Biden could push a button and make hurricanes that took out Republicans, there wouldn't be any Republicans left. Joe Biden would be in there going, fucking hammer in that button. Hammer in that button and just sending hurricanes. There would be hurricanes just fucking flying through the United States, taking out Republican bastions. Dude, Idaho wouldn't exist anymore, okay? Sorry, Fatty. That's Uncle Fatty. I'm not calling somebody a fatty. That's my boy, Uncle Fatty. He lives in Idaho, home of white supremacy that has never been seen before. Anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene's a moron. I don't, like... I continue to just, like, sit here and it's mind-boggling to me. You know, I believe it was Nietzsche. I could be wrong, but I believe it was Nietzsche said that a third of your day should be spent thinking. But I don't think this is what he meant. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think he meant that you should sit around thinking dumb shit like this. I think he meant you should sit there and think about the dumb shit you thought. So let's do some. Now we're gonna do a little bit of a throwback, and let's take a look at some of the craziest, dumbest shit that Marjorie Taylor Greene has ever said. And what we're gonna start with is this is Marjorie Taylor Greene in an interview telling people about the Earth warming. And obviously, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a scientist. Fuck, I could get YouTube might take down my channel for misinformation for saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is a scientist, because that shit is about as untrue as it comes. Oh man, I think it was Nietzsche. I could be wrong. He hurts. What's happening, Tanya? So this is Marjorie Taylor
This
Greene.
earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us.
Guys.
We've already warmed 1 degree Celsius, and do you know what's happened since then?
This is amazing.
Here, let me tell you. We have had more food grown since then, which feeds people. We are able to producing fossil fuels keeps people's house.
I love we're producing more food. Like, how is that connected? She's like, there's more watermelon because there's more warm months. The tomato season is much longer now. Oh my God.
Able to producing fossil fuels keeps people's houses warm in the winter.
Oh yeah.
That saves people's lives. People die in the cold.
Right.
This
Sorry, guys. Sorry for when I laugh in the microphone, but sometimes I can't help myself. People die in the cold. You know what else people die in? The heat. And what was it this year? I think Phoenix had like 113 straight days of like 100 degrees or more in Phoenix. Like, that's not good, dog. She said, don't worry. Don't worry, people die in the cold, and since it's getting hotter, that means less people will die in the cold. Oh, man, she is...
as people die.
I always go back and forth with these people. I'm always like, am I going to be sad if they all leave because there's just like, I'm not going to be able to make fun of them anymore? Or am I going to be like, fuck, finally? Probably fuck, finally. Like, right? Like, I mean... At least for a minute, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, we can finally breathe again. Because it is exhausting. But also at the same time, I think every once in a while, well, no, we have the internet. So no, they can go away. They've given us enough clips now. I think they've done their job. They've given us enough clips now that we can just like kind of go back to this like a you know, you look at things with rose-colored glasses, right? So you could go back to it and you could look at it as like a fond memory, and you can forget about all the pain and the anguish and the hatred and racism that was going on during this time, and you can just like look back at it and be like, oh man, those were weird times, but we had a good laugh though.
Keeps people's houses warm in the winter. That saves people's lives. People die in the cold.
Right.
This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us. It helps us to.
Dude, there's people that believe this. That's the insanity. The insanity is that there are people like sitting there nodding right now going, facts. Marjorie Taylor Greene should be president of the United States of America. And they all live in Georgia. Sorry, Georgia.
Feed people and carbon is actually healthy for us. It helps us to feed people. It helps keep people alive. It helps. The earth is more green than it was years and years ago, and that's because of the earth warming. That's because of carbon.
I'm pretty sure, dude. Somebody needs to make an app. Here, okay, look, another $1 million idea. Look, I gave you guys the Trump box. You guys could have ran with that. No one's done it, okay? I gave you guys the social media website that has a CAPTCHA for humans that when they answer crazy-ass questions like, is Marjorie Taylor Greene a smart person, and they answer yes to that, it sends them to the dark web, okay? Look, I've given you guys all of these ideas, and you guys got to do this. I don't have the time. I have a family. I have a job, okay? New $1 million idea, okay? AI is getting better and better. We need an app that actively fact checks these people. Like, it's impossible for a human to be able to keep up with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Donald Trump or Matt Gaetz or J.D. Vance. What we need is an AI that actively listens to everything that these people says and just, like, maybe it could list it. Because if it had to spam the fact check, right? Like, it'd be on and off, like, because they lie so goddamn much that it would be like you would just be flashing. You guys would have seizures. Like we would all have epilepsy because it would just be like one fact checked after another. What it needs to be is like a running tab. We need an app that is powered by AI that every time they say something, it goes and checks it, and then it tells us like what percentage of truth it is, and it just lists it, and then it gives us like a summary of the bullshit at the end. You could use consensus AI. Okay, we're going to look that up. Okay, green is the new plastic. Exactly, tired. Oh, your niece, Tanya? Tanya says, my niece, I thought she was an ass anyway, but she is a cop and barely educated. That's like, once again, this is why people said defund the police. Okay. This is why people said defund the police, because there is a cop or two out there that, let's just say they ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. And then that fucker's pulling me over? Dude. Well, that's like one place, like, I'm 100% with robots, dude. I think robots should be police officers because, like, I can't get pulled over, right? I can't get pulled over and have, like, the cop that's pulling me over believe in Jewish space lasers. Like, when I get pulled over, I'm trying to apply logic and sense. Okay, I'll tell you guys a funny story. One time, I was leaving my dad's house. I had a couple beers, like not enough to like be in trouble, right? Just a couple beers. But I had drank a beer, so I'm like, we gotta be careful. Like, I have alcohol in my breath. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't need that kind of. I don't have time for court dates in my life. So I'm like, okay, so be cool, like don't have 2 beers and then you go, right? So I have a couple beers with my dad. I'm like, all right, man, I gotta take off. So I jump in my car. And I'm driving towards this stoplight, and I need to make a right onto the freeway. And I go to turn my lights on, and something happens with the switch. I flip it the wrong way or something like that. I can't figure it out. The lights go off, and I'm like, oh, God damn it. So I'm coming up to this light, and I need to make a right, but at the same time, I'm messing with my headlights. So I'm messing with the headlights. I finally flip them on as I get to the light. Now, as I get to the light, it's red, and I want to make a right. In California, you can make a right on red. So I pull up to the light, I look to my left to see who's coming, and I see this car, but it's pretty far away. Like, it's not at the intersection for sure yet. So I'm like, good enough, right? So I make my right, and I pull out onto the road, and there are headlights, like, right in the back window of my car. And I'm an angry ginger, all right? So the moment that those headlights are in my back, in my rearview mirror, I just look right up and go, like that, right in the rearview mirror. I want to make sure whoever this person is behind me, that they understand that I am not accepting their advances towards my rear end, right? Like, I'm not feeling that. This isn't that kind of party. It isn't. We're not no Diddy, And they backed off. They backed off pretty quickly. But as they backed off, I noticed something. There was a light bar on top of that car. And one of those rams on the front that they use to hit people with. And that light bar lit up. And I was like, fuck. Pulled off to the side of the road. Now, the reason I'm telling this story is because when I get pulled over, first thing I think is, okay, what am I going to say? What do I say to this cop to get me out of this, right? I want to use logic. So I roll down my window, turn down my stereo. I know the rules. I've been pulled over a lot of times in my life. I've been pulled out of my car a lot of times in my life. So I'm like, all right, I know the rules. Turn down the stereo, roll down the window, just sit there waiting for him. And the cop walks up to the side of the window and he goes, hey, you know what you did wrong? And he's pissed. Like, he is mad, okay? He is like, you know what you did wrong? And I'm like, yep. And I got, like, my license out already, and I'm just, like, handing it out the window before he even gets there, And he snatches my fucking license. He's like, what did you do wrong? I was like, I'm an idiot. He was like, did you think you could just pull out in front of me and just cut me off like that? That's dangerous. And I'm like, in my head, I'm going, motherfucker, you were speeding and you're at fault. but I know I can't say this to this cop, right? So I'm like, look, sir, I understand. I shouldn't have done that. I'm an idiot. And he's like, all right. And he gives me back my license and he goes, don't do that again. He gets in his car and fucking, like, literally, like, peels out. And it drives past and I'm like, those interactions with police will let you know why you have to have cops. I mean, that guy probably wasn't even that intelligent, to be honest with you. But why you have to have cops that don't just react to shit? Like, should he even pull me over for that? Probably not. There's no law that says I can't flip the cop off. There's no law that says I can't pull out in front of the cop. I had plenty of room. And there should be even an acceptable amount of shit that cops have to take from the populace. They should have to be able to be mentally strong enough to not overreact in certain situations. Now, you know, I'm not saying that man completely overreacted, but I think that maybe just a little bit, he's a little bit too pissed off to be a police officer. Last thing I need is a Jewish space laser cop. No, dude. He hurts. Said just to remind them you're white. Like, I shit you not, because of where I grew up and stuff like that. When I got home, that's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. I told my wife, because she knows I'm an idiot. I'm like, I flipped off a cop. And she's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm angry ginger. And I go, you know, the one thing is, though, it's like, it's a good thing I'm white. And he goes, if that's a black man, I'm sorry. Like, that's the reality. I told you guys before, I'd go down to my neighborhood where I grew up, and I'd load up the car. You know, I'd get Tyrone, I'd get Henry, I'd get Roy, and a pit bull, you know, because we didn't want to leave the dog at home. And as soon as I pull out of my neighborhood, whoop, fucking cop would pull us over, pull every one of us out of the car. And for the most part, like, in each of those interactions, the police officer would sit there and talk to me, and he would frisk the black dudes. They would get pulled out to the back of the car, they would get frisked, and then the cop would just sit there and talk to me. And I told you guys before, like I said, one time this cop said, what are you doing in this neighborhood? And I said, this is where I grew up. And he said, well, you shouldn't be coming back here. I said, this is where my friends are. And he said, well, maybe you should make new friends. And I'm like, no, I like these people. Anyways, yeah, I know, Reverend. That's 100%, man. That's the reality. People can act like that shit isn't real, but it is. It's reality. I watched it my entire youth. I watched, you know, black men get rousted up. Like I literally, one of the first times I got put on probation when I was really young, I busted this window on this halfway house, this 5150 place, just being a kid, like 14, 15 years old, threw a rock through a window, being an idiot. And I remember my best friend's half black, and somebody came and told me that the cops had went and grabbed him. And they're like, yo, they went and grabbed him. Like, he could get in trouble. He could be like, you know, like, who knows what's going to happen. And so I actually, like, got up from where I was and ran down to where the cop was and, like, actually interceded. And I just stepped up in the middle of it. And I was like, hey, I threw the rock. And the cop, like, looked at me and he's like, what? And I'm like, I threw the rock. It was me. I broke the window, dude. And he, you know, kind of give me the chastise me, whatever, you know. But, like, I knew at that point, like, I couldn't allow that to happen. I knew that he would get in more trouble than I would. And I ended up being, I think I got 2 years worth of probation. Met one of, like, the coolest the meanest probation officers, Maria. She was one of the meanest probation officers, but also one of the coolest people because she really, like, set me straight. So, shout out Maria. That's a bad child, all right? That's a bad child. You know, exactly, he hurts. He says you really disappointed the cops that day. Yeah, dude. Like, I was like, I knew. Like, that's crazy that somebody came and got me because they knew, like, what could happen to him because he was black. So I went there and I just walked right in a minute. I did it. I'm the one who did it. They didn't put me in handcuffs. They didn't take me anywhere. Literally, the cop just took a report and I had to go to court and I got probation. Like, that's what happened. Anyways. So, obviously the hypocrisy of all of these guys, and it's something that no Republican will ever admit to, no politician that's a Republican will ever admit to, no constituent will ever admit to, is that every one of these Republicans are against FEMA aid. Every one of these Republicans talk about infrastructure bills like they're the boogeyman. They don't want you. Why should we be taxed? Why should we pay for these things? This is why you pay for these things. And on this list of people that voted against FEMA funding, you can see Anna Paulina Luna. You can see Matt Getz. You can see Brian Donalds. Isn't that supposed to be Byron Donalds? Is his name Brian? This whole time I didn't know it. But a little bit hypocritical Republicans. And you know what? I'd be okay if people would just say something along the lines of like, hey, you know what? We made a mistake. We do need FEMA funding. That's our bad. Can we get some of that money? I'd be like, oh, okay. And you know what? Next time, vote for it, right? Like, prove it with your actions that you're sorry. But instead, what do these people do? What do they do, guys? They double down. They double down. And what's their favorite thing to do, guys? They blame it on the immigrants. Look, I can understand if you live in a border town and you're like, yo, like housing's a problem, right? Like, or jobs are a problem. Like, I don't believe that's true, but I could understand if you like one or two things, like you're like, immigrants make my life a little bit harder. Like, okay. But when you get to the point where you're blaming like everything on immigrants, like the housing crisis, the economy, like jobs, which we're not even in a job crisis. The September jobs report was once again amazing. It was amazing. We're back down to 4.1% unemployment. Like, if you don't know, 4.1% unemployment is insanely good. Insanely good. Like, there is this idea that the immigrants they're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're causing the hurricanes. They're taking all your money. They're taking over the apartment complexes. Like, if you're a Trump supporter, like, at this point, doesn't it seem weird that every time something bad happens, it's an immigrant's fault? Like, guys, I'm an Eagles fan. We ain't having a great time right now, okay? But if every time that the Eagles lose, it's Jalen Hurts' fault. Every time that the Eagles lose, it's the defense's fault. I'm be like, well, I think there might be some other factors. Has anybody checked into the coaching? Has anybody talked to ownership about making some moves? Has anybody looked at the game plan before the game? Do these guys even watch tape anymore? These are all things that I wonder about, just so you guys know. Because I spend a third of my day thinking about the Eagles losing. Like, it should come off as just mildly strange to you that every single time that something happens, that it's an immigrant's fault. Like, that is just statistically improbable that everything that is wrong in your life is because an immigrant, dude. Like, some of that shit's gotta be your fault. Hell, you at least blame your significant other for one or two of the things. So anyways, this is what Donald Trump had to say about it.
That's what's happening. They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. You know, they're trying. That's
like they stole the money from FEMA like they stole it from a bank. Like, even the words he uses are fucking dumb. Like, his cadence is dumb. The things he say are dumb. Like, there's no eloquence to, like, anything that this man does. Like, JFK got up there and he wooed people over because he had this, like, ability with words that they were eloquent. They were pretty. He could speak well. Obama, really good speaker. Michelle Obama, great speaker. Hitler, motherfucker was charismatic. Wasn't good for us. But at least that dude, when he got up there, he was like, Einstein's fine rein garada. And people were like, I don't know what he just said, but that motherfucker, he is spitting. There was like people out there like, I feel like I'm so angry right now. Not to give Hitler any props for anything. But he, like, I don't understand why Trump is so, like, how does he make people feel the way they feel about, like, if Donald Trump sat up there, like, if it was just me and Donald Trump, and he was, like, trying to convince me that immigrants were bad, and he talked like this, I'd be like, yeah, brother, so I gotta go soon. They're like, I'd like to play a video game, or perhaps watch some YouTube videos of people making fun of you. Like, what is so goddamn, like, I don't know, compelling about him? What is, it's just, it's mind-boggling that any human being at all would ever look at Donald Trump and be like, man, that's a smart guy right there. That's a smart guy. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it used to be exactly what Deidre just said. It used to be black folks' fault all the time, and they still blame the black people. But now, I don't know if I've talked about this either. Joe Moore, the book I'm reading, Broken Badges and White Robes, the one about the guy that infiltrates the FBI. But he talks, I'm at the point in the book where he talks about how the KKK actually starts to, like, look for minorities. Like, they try to bring minorities into their fold. They try to be more, we're anti-government. We're not anti-black. But obviously, they're anti-black. They're just trying to find black folk that hate black folk. They're trying to find Mexicans that hate black folk. They're trying to find Latinos. There's this crazy tribe, I think it's in Carolina, South Carolina maybe, that was part of the Confederacy. They were a unit in the Confederacy, and they never disbanded. So the KKK looks at this Native American tribe as the last Confederate unit, and they recognize them as such. And so there's like these Native Americans that actually, they're not allowed to be part of the Ku Klux Klan, but they can be like security, or I forgot what they're called, but it's like a outer perimeter of the Ku Klux Klan. It's not the inner circle. And the Ku Klux Klan is much more organized than like when I was growing up. When I was growing up, like all the skinheads, white supremacists, Peckerwoods, Featherwoods, Nazi lowriders, Supreme White Power guys, all those guys were like the thugs, right? Like those are the dudes that like you would, like the KKK now would get those guys to commit acts of violence because they were like the muscle. They're the types of dudes that have a swastika on their face. They don't care. They'll go to prison, whatever. Like that was more of what represented white supremacy when I was a kid. But reading this book has really opened my eyes to see that the KKK as a whole has infiltrated the Proud Boys, has infiltrated the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers. And what they're doing now is what you see in politics, and they are creating an infrastructure because they have this, like, you know, kind of like management hierarchy of like the Grand Wizard, the Grand Nighthawk, all the like the local Clavern leaders and stuff like that. That they believe if they create a second civil war, if they believe if they can create civil unrest, that they can actually one for one the government. Like the government collapses and the KKK can step right into it and take over control of America. I know that sounds fucking insane, but if you read this book, Broken Badges and White Robes, he explains it pretty well. He infiltrated the KKK. He can tell you 100% that that's what's going on. They literally tried to assassinate Barack Obama in 2009. If it wasn't for this dude, they would have at least attempted it. But yeah, it's really crazy because at one point or another, I think it was like 2017 or 18 during Trump's first run, that as president, that the KKK actually changed their mentality to attempting to recruit minorities under the auspices that they're an anti-government group, not an anti-black group. But, you know, it's always going to, they're always going to push for it to be, it's always black folks' fault, you know? It's like, it's just a different black folk, you know? It's like, so now it's the Haitians instead, you know? And like, to be honest, they just, like, tend to use like the racism that's also inherent in like some Latino communities, you know, against black people. So it's like, these white supremacists are very smart people. These, like I said, these aren't the skinheads and the Peckerwoods and stuff that I grew up with, you know, in the ghetto. Like these are people that are people who are in corporations. Specifically, the KKK really pushed to recruit police officers, military and ex-military, people in all levels of government, like even like the DMV. Like one of the dudes in the book that he meets is a guy who works for the DMV, like a high-level DMV employee. So they want him to go and take out this Mexican dude. And when they say they want him to do it, they have to get him a car that has no paperwork on it. So this dude runs him through the process by talking to other white supremacists in the DMV and gets the paperwork taken through, passed through. So that way he'll have a car that he can just ditch afterwards. It's crazy. Yeah, Mark Robinson is the perfect example. That's what I'm talking about, Danny. When I say that they're recruiting African Americans, like that's the type of person. Like when he says he wants to be a black Nazi, like all of us laugh. We think, oh, it's funny that this black dude said that shit. Like that's so crazy, so weird that he would even say that, because they would like no Nazis would like take him in or whatever. And it's like, no, these people are much smarter. They know they need people like Mark Robinson. They know they need Latinos. They know they need gay people. So like there's a certain story in the book where he talks about like one of the KKK members, his sister comes out as a lesbian, and they end up like kicking him out. He has like the choice to either like disown his sister or even do something to harm her and her partner to like prove his loyalty to the Ku Klux Klan. Or he can like leave. And after he leaves, they have what they call a prayer meeting. They call these things prayer meetings, where they get together and they talk about whether or not they're going to commit a crime. And they talk about whether or not they're going to off this dude, whether or not they're going to take out this dude whose sister came out as a lesbian, or if they're going to let him live. And luckily, this FBI informant is in these prayer meetings, and he's, you know, moving it more towards like, let's not do anything to these people, let's not harm them. You know, like props to that dude. It was crazy. He was a civilian. He didn't get paid money. He didn't get anything. He just like literally did this shit because he wanted to like take down white supremacy, Ku Klux Klan members. So Joe Moore is dope, super dope. But anyways, yeah, like that's what they want to do, is they want to recruit like people from the LGBT community. They want to recruit people from BIPOC. You know, they want to recruit marginalized communities and stuff like that, because they know that at this point that their power has waned to these levels that aren't adequate to do what they want to do. And do not get this wrong. They don't want to just, you know, beat up a black person anymore. They don't want to just terrorize and firebomb black-owned businesses anymore. That kind of thing, like, they know that people will stand up against that kind of stuff. They know that, like, the press will stand up against that kind of stuff. No, instead, now they're super fucking insidious, and instead now they have these grand wizards like Charles Denton who rule over all these claverns of the Ku Klux Klan that are also in league with biker gangs. This is why I've said this, that like bikers aren't superheroes. The outlaws, the warlocks, all of these biker gangs have connections to KKK. Okay, that's what Joe Moore proves in this book. And, you know, they have these big criminal syndicates that are put together much like the mafia was. And they will take over the government if given the chance. It's fucking insane. The Nazi network, yeah, their own form of DEI. Yeah, useful idiots. Exactly, Rocket, Danny, that's what I'm saying. Useful idiots, yep. Anyways, Donald Trump, what he's saying here, we'll play it one more time. What he's saying here is he's doing that. He's like, join me. He's like...
That's what's happening. They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank, so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season.
And by the way, illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants cannot vote in a federal election. Just like, I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. Undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections. That's not how it works. But if you think that he's just talking to white people when he says that, he's not. He's talking to anybody that's willing to vote for him, regardless of ethnicity. He's like, if you're a black man that hates other black men that are from a different country, or black men that you think within our country that are lazy or give you like they're bad examples of your race, whatever, like he's speaking to those people. He's speaking to the Mark Robinsons of the world and saying, you know, hey, like come over here. Like the hate, we'll hate right along with you. We'll give you a safe space for your hate against your own people. That's crazy. All right. So anyways, we're going to go back a little bit further because of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene's insanity, whether or not people know this or not. What up, James? The Marjorie Taylor Greene insanity goes back so far, and it actually has like toned down a bit. I don't know if you guys remember all the insanity of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she first came in, but this is like what she's doing now, talking about hurricanes wiping out Republican, voters, isn't even as insane. She started with the QAnon stuff. She started way back in the 4chan QAnon stuff. So this is a video, and I watched about 30 seconds of this, and I think this is the video I watched before on stream. If it's not, we might try to find the one I was trying to find. But there's a point in one of these videos where she talks about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, where this guy, she doesn't say it, she just agrees with it. This guy says, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was actually like dead, and like there was people that were wearing a Ruth Bader Ginsburg costume, and they're acting like they were Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she's like, yeah. And she like agrees with the dude. It's insane. This is a Vice video, so it might give me a
Hey everyone, this is Marjorie Greene.
So
I am excited to talk to you guys today. I want to go through the entire story of everything that's been going on. Have you guys been following 4chan, Q, any of that stuff? Anybody?
Dude, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene too in these videos. That's who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. I want you guys to take a look at that picture right there. Don't look at the political, the hair done up, the ready for the theater bullshit that you see nowadays. If you want to know who Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's that right there. That conspiracy theory. I stayed up till 3 a.m. going down rabbit holes, being on 4chan. Our politician, the senator for Georgia, or congresswoman for Georgia, was on 4chan, dude. That's scary.
The entire story of everything that's been going on. Have you guys been following 4chan, Q, any of that stuff? Anybody? It's a story that if you were actually to write this in a book, honestly, I probably would quit reading the book because it's so unbelievable. It's an anonymous person.
She's not wrong about that.
Q is a patriot. We know that for sure. It's not just
You see what I'm saying? That right there, what she just said.
So unbelievable. It's an anonymous person. All right, so Q is a patriot.
Q is a patriot. Like, MAGA memory, like, they have smoked their memory away. Like, there is no memory left. Like, she straight up said that shit. Q is a patriot. That's crazy.
So, Q is a patriot. We know that for sure. It's not just Democrat and Republican, left and right.
Danny,
you can dive down
hilarious.
In that civil war into deeper levels, where we have basically the deep state is fighting back against President Trump, the loyal people in his administration, and the American people. Okay? I mean, is it going to be true that the child pedophilia in the elites in the Washington, D.C., is that what we're really going to see come out? Is it true? Is the type of corruption we're going to see come out, is it going to be satanic worship that possibly all these people are involved in?
Have you seen?
Oh, no.
And I've asked.
I think this might be the dude. This might be the dude that says that about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Sure, is she straight out saying that these things are happening when she's talking about the satanic shit and the child harm? She's saying it much like Donald Trump says things, with this real indirect language that allows her plausible deniability. Oh, well, I was just bringing it up. Maybe there is. I mean, look what happened with P. Diddy. Obviously, it's happening somewhere. Dude, that's the scary part, is that they can use indirect language to say those kind of things.
Possibly all these people are involved in.
Have you seen, and I've asked Will this before,
Some people
the
are saying
picture
exactly.
of Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Yeah, here it
walking
is.
through the airport? This woman has been drawn over for how many years? And all of a sudden, she's walking straight upright like it's a whole new person.
Almost like
Do
a
you
body double,
believe
like
that
Hillary
is
Clinton.
Ruth?
Yeah, like the body double for Hillary Clinton. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I do not believe that was Ruth. No, I don't.
So she does straight up say it. Dude, it's been too long since I watched this. So she straight up says that Ruth Bader Ginsburg wasn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That this caller is insinuating that Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to walk around super stooped over and stuff, and this time she's walking through the airport straight up. And these people, like, I cannot say this enough. They believe that there was a Hillary Clinton body double. They believe that there was a Ruth Bader Ginsburg body double. They believe that Joe Biden was being played by James Woods. Why would you ever vote for a person that believes that? Like, that should be disqualifying from office. You should have to answer that question.
interesting. So
I do not believe that was Ruth. No, I don't think so.
There's possible satanic worship, and maybe that all these scary things that people talk about on what's considered conspiracy sites and conspiracy theories
What's happening,
really may
Jeannie?
be true. But that's what
happening,
Q
Paul?
has been telling everyone.
We had witnessed 9/11, right? We had witnessed 9/11, the terrorist attack in New York, and the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, and the so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon.
There's actual footage from like the CCTV of the Pentagon where you can see the plane's engine actually on the ground next to the Pentagon. I heard this dude arguing about this, and this dude was saying like, yeah, they stole the planes, the government stole the planes and ran them into the building. And then he's like, but they didn't run a building in the Pentagon. And the other guy was like, well, what did they do then? And he's like, they shot it with a missile. He's like, so why would they do that? Why would they shoot the Pentagon with a missile if they had already stolen a plane to run them into the buildings? Like, he's like, that doesn't make any sense. If the government has all of this, like, ability, it's not like the government would be like, oh, well, we ran out of planes. Well, we don't want to wreck another plane. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's why I said, like, look, I'm willing to talk about, like, our government and our government's, like, issues in the past with subterfuge and stuff like that. I've said this a bunch of times, talking about, like, what the things that happened in Iran. There's plenty to talk about. But there's just some real inconsistencies in conspiracy theories that don't make any sense at all. At all. And that's one of them. Why the fuck would they, like, why would they do that? Why would they run a plane into the Twin Towers, but then when it comes to the Pentagon, they're like, well, we don't want to use another plane, Bob. Let's just hit it with a missile. Also, like, that, Jesus, there's literally footage of it. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane.
That crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into the 9/11 conspiracy.
Like and subscribe.
Q is trying to tell people
on these forums and 4chan, and he's trying to tell people the truth. And he does it through questions, asking questions, and giving clues.
Oh, really?
And so it's basically, you're going down the rabbit hole. You're following the white rabbit, and you're figuring it out. I've got a question for you.
She almost understands.
How do you get avid gun owners and people that support the Second Amendment to give up their guns and go along with anti-gun legislation? Maybe you accomplish that by performing a mass shooting into a crowd that is very likely to be conservative.
Is she talking about the Vegas show? Right? Like that's what this one's about. She's talking about the Las Vegas shooter, right? Because wasn't it like a country concert that was at?
To give up their guns and go along with anti-gun legislation. Maybe you accomplish that by performing a mass shooting into a crowd that is very likely to be conservative, very likely to vote Republican, very likely to be Trump supporters, very likely to be pro-Second Amendment, and very likely to own guns. Is that what happened in Las Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Is that why
Called it.
The country music festival was targeted? I have a lot of questions about that. I don't believe Stephen Paddock was a lone wolf. I don't believe that he pulled this off all by himself.
They destabilized the Middle East. That's what happened, okay? So that happened during Barack Obama's presidency. Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep talking about whatever happened.
Wait, Barack Obama's the one who destabilized the Middle East? I think that the Middle East has been destabilized for a very long time. It's one of the few topics that I don't like to talk about on stream because I know that it's so controversial. But, the embedded religious leanings of the Middle East, there is never going to be peace in the Middle East. I'm sorry. I know that that's something like every president that comes into office is like, that's like what they want. But the only peace you're ever going to see in the Middle East is a facade. Like you might see these big countries like, join something like the Abraham Accords or something like that where, they all say like they're in trade agreements, but they're literally having those trade agreements before. Now it's just more out front or whatever. But like, even when I argue with Trump supporters about the Abraham Accords where they're like, well, he's the only one that's ever accomplished that. It's like the attempt at making peace in the Middle East destabilized the Middle East. As weird as that sounds, that's the truth. Places like Iran aren't going to allow the Middle East to have any type of continuity because they lose in that equation. You're not going to convince Iranians who are hyper-religious, or you're not going to, convince Palestinians who are hyper-religious. You're not going to convince the Israelis. Like, if anybody, the one country that's over there that's probably going to, like, push for that kind of thing would be the Israelis, right? But they're going to push for it because they want control of those other countries. They want to be the United States of America, Middle East version, right? And Saudi Arabia is not going to be accepting of that. Iran isn't going to be accepting of that. And none of those smaller countries that surround them, will ever be accepting of that. None of those terrorist organizations that are embedded within those countries will ever accept any of that. Barack Obama destabilized the Middle East? I don't think so. The Middle East has been destabilized for a very long time. I would say its entire history, actually. Yeah, the Shia versus Sunni.
That's what happened,
yeah.
Okay? So that happened
during
Barack Obama's
that happened
presidency.
during that time.
Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep talking about whatever happened. Yes, I do believe he is a Muslim. And yes, Valerie Jarrett is too.
He's a Muslim.
And
oh
she's
my
a big
God.
issue too.
According to Q, now I'm saying according to
Even
Q.
if he was a Muslim,
again,
why would that
I
be
don't have any
bad?
proof of this, but we're talking about who is Q, so I'm going to tell you what he says. According to him, many in our government are actively worshiping Satan, or they call Moloch.
MS-13, everyone. Under Obama came MS-13. There's a lot to that. You have to understand.
Yeah, Barack Obama. Oh my God. It's insane and it's exhausting. A friend of mine was just talking about one of our people that was at a bar talking to a conspiracy theorist, and he was listening to it because he's a bartender at this bar. And he was saying, like, he was listening to how many different things this person was saying and all the different places. And they always start with this thing they say. Okay, so I don't totally believe all these things, but it is interesting. Isn't it interesting? But within like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of any conversation with a conspiracy theorist, they go from, I don't really believe all these things, to, I've read all these books, I've watched all these videos, I believe all these conspiracy theories, it's definitely going on. And that's because, like, there's that shame or embarrassment because they know that what they're doing is, like, it's incorrect. It's not healthy mentally. They know that, like, the majority of the things that they believe are not correct. Like, this conspiracy theory thing where, like, literally every time you talk to one of these people, you hear the same exact talking points, and they feel the need to wedge in each one of these talking points. Like, it's like everyone has to happen. They can't, like, if you talk to them for more than, let's say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you're going to hear every conspiracy theory that you have ever heard of before. Like, there's never going to be just like a one-topic conversation with these conspiracy theorists, because the overarching theme of why they believe what they believe is because they are trying to create control or order out of chaos. And the reason they're trying to do that is because they can't accept that the reasoning behind who they are and what's wrong with their life is their fault. I'm not saying everything in your life is your fault. There's random different factors that happen to you, things you can't control, like medical issues, losing out on certain opportunities because of, like, who you are and where you are born. I'm not saying that everything is controllable. That's 100% correct that it is not. But you do have to take accountability that, like, some of the things in your life, some of the things that are bad in your life are because of your decisions or because of the people you've surrounded yourself with, which is your decisions. And conspiracy theorists don't want that. Conspiracy theorists want to be able to say something along the lines of, I'm not the reason that things are bad. It's all these crazy things that are going on in the world. And like I said, I think that's because they want to create order out of chaos, because the default base for reality is chaos. And the second law of thermodynamics is entropy. Then that means that when things don't have, like, positive energy put into them, that they're going to degrade back to their base, right? So when you're not trying to control things, when you're not pushing forth attempting to make these things all structured and put them in their place, then eventually they degrade back towards chaos, right? And that's what conspiracy theorists are constantly playing this game, where they're constantly convincing themselves that they found the information that makes them feel like they've put these things in their proper place, and then they have to continue it and continue it and continue it, because it's that Alan Moore quote. The Alan Moore quote is, conspiracy theorists think that, like, the world is being controlled by this small group of people, but the really scary thing is that the world is rudderless and nobody is in control, because we're human beings and we're not capable of controlling things like we think we do. Like, in really small areas, you might find, like, in cults and stuff like that, really small amounts of control over chaos, but not on the world stage. You're never going to be able to control the world in that manner. It's crazy. Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe Token Green. Yeah, I would love to. I do like talking to the Q people, because it's fucking, like, I wish, like, this sounds like some straight up German shit right here, but I wish they would study, like, Q people. I don't know, like, get some, look, these people, like, they voluntarily talk in interviews all the time. Like, why can't we get a bunch of Q people, a bunch of, like, conspiracy theorist types like this, and just convince them that what they're doing is just answering questions, and do studies on them. I think that we should be doing studies on these people, because I legitimately believe the biggest issue in America today is this mental health crisis. I'm not talking about people that like, have other mental illness. I'm talking about this specific mental health crisis is, in my opinion, the number one issue in America today, possibly in the world. I don't know a lot about, people in other places, but it could be possible globally this is a problem.
Everyone, under Obama came MS-13. There's a lot to that.
Jeannie, if
have
you
to
ever in
understand,
Discord,
they
if
have
you could
very
put
good,
any kind of
they had very
study
good
in there, I'd love
relationships
to
with
see some of that
MS-13.
stuff.
MS-13
It's
was
really
basically
interesting
like
to me.
they were the kind of the henchmen of the Obama administration. They did a lot of the dirty work. Seth Rich was murdered by 2 MS-13 gang members. That's what I mean by dirty work, okay?
Once again, she just doesn't understand how these gangs work. Like MS-13 and stuff, like when you get to the higher levels, can be like mafia-like, but for the most part, the type of people that she's talking about and stuff like that are not like the MS-13 gang members that come over and do things like murder people and like, you know, that aren't part of like the bigger like drug selling operation and stuff like that. They're not listening to Barack Obama. Okay? That's fucking insane. What up, Ozzy?
There's a once in a lifetime the Obama administration. They did a lot of the dirty work. Seth Rich was murdered by 2 MS-13 gang members. That's what I mean by dirty work, okay? There's a once in a lifetime opportunity to take.
Like, why would you have MS-13? This is what I'm saying. These are the inconsistencies in conspiracy theories. So you have at your disposal, as the president of the United States of America, like the most efficient killers in the fucking country, if not the world, right? Like, you know, our special forces teams have to be pretty high up there. I know that like the Israelis have like a gnarly one. There's other countries that have pretty gnarly special forces, but I'd imagine American special forces are pretty high up as far as like their efficiency and their ability to do things like that. Why would you ever use an MS-13 member to do something like that? Like the potential of an MS-13 member, like rolling on you, like that's a pretty high possibility. There is no reason for an MS-13 member to feel any type of loyalty at all to the President of the United States of America. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you? Like, the conspiracy theories of old were so much better. Like, the old conspiracy theories were like the government has assassins that they use. Like, that is much more believable. Spiken, you're back. Oh, you have power but no internet? Spiking, I hope you're doing okay. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I hope everybody in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, I hope all you guys are doing good. I hope all of you guys are doing good out there. I'm glad to see you're okay. I worry about you guys. You guys might not think that, but I do. I worry when stuff like that happens.
This global cable. Seth Rich was murdered by 2 MS-13 gang members. That's what I mean by dirty work, okay? There's a once in a lifetime opportunity to take this global cable of Satan-worshiping pedophiles out. And I think we have the president to do it. And so I'm very excited about that. Hillary decides to launch her political career. It's time for her to enter because, you know, she's being lined up. She's the next one in place, the deep state. They choose who their candidates are. They choose who they want to put in place. So she becomes senator in New York City. And yes, I could dive into Kennedy getting killed in the plane crash because isn't it interesting that he had announced he was going to run for Senate just before he died in a mysterious plane crash. But anyway, so that's another one of those Clinton murders, right? But these are interesting things to look.
The craziest part about the Hillary Clinton thing is that these people like Vladimir Putin. So in the conspiracy theory area, you have these people that believe that JFK Jr. didn't die in a plane crash, that actually Hillary Clinton did it, brother. They believe that, oh, all these people have died around Hillary. Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? Like, first of all, I guarantee there's a couple of people that I know that I've been around that have died in some kind of mysterious circumstances. I didn't do that shit, okay? Like, you probably know some people that have died in car crashes or in, like, you know, mysterious circumstances as to, like, you know, somebody just, like, my niece, you know, like, not something that I share a lot, but my niece passed away, like, two years ago from mysterious circumstances. Like, she just died in her sleep. You know, she was, like, 23, 25 years old. Like, it's fucking, like, if somebody were, like, to be, like, you know, my sister had something to do with that, or, you know, her dad or me, like, that would be insane. And we just, like, make these, like, make up conspiracies about people like these aren't other human beings. Like Hillary Clinton isn't a person. I don't like agree with some of like Hillary Clinton's politics, but like the making her out to be this like monster is insane, and it's even more insane and hypocritical when these people support Vladimir Putin, whose political adversaries literally get poisoned, fall downstairs, fall out of windows. Like, wasn't it like the first guy that ran against him way back when was like shot in the street? Like, they think Hillary Clinton is this monster, and then they support Vladimir Putin, who is a literal ex-KGB person who probably tortured and murdered plenty of people and whose political opponents are always coming up mysteriously ill. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know I say that and you guys are like, yeah, of course it doesn't.
Or he died in a mysterious plane crash. But anyway, so that's another one of those Clinton murders, right?
These are interesting
How
things
can she
to look
be
at.
a
And
congressperson?
so I wanted to talk to you about them. I'm not presenting them that they're fact, but I am presenting them
did it again, indirect
that I'm hoping
stuff.
they're facts.
Dude, I do not understand how that woman, how is that woman a congresswoman? What are we doing? Who voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene? And, you know, I made jokes about people not being allowed to vote. And I know that even gets some of you guys worked up. And I get it. I understand. I understand why even joking about people not being allowed to vote is a bad thing. Here in America, we like to be sure that no one is going to lose their right to vote, because obviously that can cascade into a slippery slope type of thing where you lose your right to vote, something like that, right? I get that. But hear me out. I'm just saying, is there a way where we could get these people, just social media wise, off the internet? Not saying take away the right to vote. I'm just saying a list of questions that determines whether or not these people are absolutely insane. And you have to, like a breathalyzer, right? Like when you get in a car, when you're an alcoholic and you got a bunch of DUIs and you get in your car and you got to blow on the breathalyzer to start your car. I'm saying that once you've been determined to be an insane person, like say shit like what she just said for 5.5 minutes of crazy shit she said, you have to answer a certain amount of questions. And if you answer those questions wrong, it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you that you answered them wrong. You just answer the questions. And then if you answer them wrong, it sends you off into like an alternative internet that's just filled with bots that just say like benign stuff, right? Like just like, right on. Good call, Marjorie. You're the best. Like they don't like encourage any kind of like craziness by like circle jerking off to conspiracy theories, but they could like instead like, you know, just go to these bots that like make them feel artificially like they've been heard. I feel like that's something we could do. Oh man, she can't vote if she becomes a felon. Depends on what state she's from, Bear Man. Donald Trump can, and he's a felon. It's crazy. Certain states still, you know, and obviously, you want to know the craziest thing about that? That's a liberal thing. Liberals literally made it so that way Donald Trump can vote. God damn it, man. Oh, because I think what it is, it's he's from Florida and in New York because of the type of felony that he has. I believe it's because it's a non-violent felony. He's allowed to vote in federal elections because he has a non-violent felony. And because he's from Florida, Florida looks at whatever state you are in that you are convicted in and uses their laws to determine whether or not you're allowed to vote in a federal election. So once again, in some weird kind of way, Donald Trump has once again escaped any type of justice, even not being allowed to vote. Someone tell her to pronounce cabal. Fuck, now I hope I said it right. Thanks, Paul. Have a good day, Paul. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for being here. Oh, dude, more work for her, more paperwork for her. People, Scott says, people like her get elected due to lack of funding for education over the past 40 years. Yeah, and they want to get rid of the educational system. This is the insanity. They don't just want to take a system that is already having issues getting these people to where they need to be. They want to just completely destroy it and allow these people to homeschool their children. They want them. Did you guys know that there was like a Nazi fucking school homeschooling regimen that was approved by the homeschooling system? A pro-Nazi homeschool regimen was approved by the homeschooling system because they didn't like look at it. They just like passed it through. Look, there are things in our educational system that do need to be fixed. There needs to be more transparency about where money is going in our educational system. But defunding it is not the answer. Homeschooling is not the answer. Look, I've had a couple kids that I hired that were homeschool kids. And they're good kids. They're good kids. But they lack certain life skills because they didn't get that socialization. They didn't learn while being around other children that had diverse thoughts and such. Instead, they were like kind of shoehorned into being this certain type of individual. And, you know, not to mention spelling, not their strong point. If your parents' spelling is not their strong point, it ain't yours either. Math, also kind of a problem. Dude. All right, let's look at the old one now. All right, so we got through some of the good ones. We got through some of the well, I don't think a lot of people know some of the stuff that Marjorie Taylor Greene just talked about. I don't know if everybody knows about the Ruth Bader Ginsburg one. I don't know if people know that she used to support Q and still does. I guarantee she still supports Q. A lot of people don't know about the MS-13 thing that she said, or how she claims Hillary Clinton murdered people. So once again, I feel like it's very important that people do not forget, because MAGA Republicans are acting like this is all just run-of-the-mill stuff. These are normal people. You should vote for them. They're not normal people. They're crazy. They're insane. They believe crazy shit. And we cannot allow this kind of stuff to fly under the radar. So we're going to keep watching it. And for the most part, this is my favorite one. Just so you guys know, my boss, the guy who owns the business that I run, he's Jewish. And he has a little badge that says Jewish Space Lasers Corp. And I asked him if I could run the Jewish Space Laser, and he told me no. I'm very upset. But look how old this video. Look at a young David Pakman. 3 years ago. David Pakman. You know what? Tell you the truth, David Pakman looks just about the same. David Pakman not aging. I wonder if he's a Jewish space laser.
The Quran is not allowed. She has made claims about 9/11 that are certainly very, very far from what we know to be the facts, which we'll talk about a little bit later. She has talked about the possibility of staged elements of the Parkland, Sandy Hook, and Las Vegas shootings, and also harassed David Hogg, one of the students who was a student at Marjorie Stoneham High School, Stoneman. I always forget, Stoneman. In Parkland, Florida. And she has also previously posted on her Facebook pages that Democratic officials should be executed. Well, there has now been a Facebook post from 2 years ago uncovered where Marjorie Taylor Greene appears to be talking about some kind of secret Jewish-controlled space laser that may be responsible for wildfires. Let's take a look at it. This is from November of 2018.
Dude, I'm in California, right? So just down the street from me, there was actually a fire the other day, real close to home. Dude, living in California, that's just reality. You know, stuff catches on fire sometimes, and it is scary stuff. We've had fires real close, but this one was even closer. This one was down the street from me, and it looks like probably somebody's car caught on fire, and their front yard caught on fire. And of course, the first thing one of my employees asked me, was it a Jewish space laser? It's always funny when you're from the places, right? When you're from the places that people make up conspiracy theories, it's always funny because you're like, nah, dog, I can tell you exactly why. Like when Paradise burnt down, that town in Northern California, Paradise. If you guys don't know about that, you should check it out. It's crazy. Whole town burned down, right? It was because of PG&E, dog. It wasn't Jewish space lasers, dog. All right? It was like literally because PG&E did not repair their lines for so goddamn long because it always goes back to corporate greed. I wish people would just get on the same goddamn page. Always goes back to corporate greed. The reason that fire started is because PG&E did not take care of their equipment, and their old equipment malfunctioned and sparked and lit a fire that burnt down an entire town. Yeah, you don't, like I said before, people go so far with these concepts as to like what caused it when it's literally Occam's razor. Simplest answer, most likely answer, right? It isn't some kind of crazy conspiracy that burnt down that town. It was corporate greed. Jesus Christ.
That may be responsible for wildfires. Let's take a look at it. This is from November of 2018, where Green said,
in 2018, I did not know that you could post this much. Oh, this is probably Facebook. Look at how much she wrote on this shit. You know, she's typed this with one finger for so long. Just
posting this in speculation because this is from November of 2018, where Green said, I'm posting this in speculation because there are too many coincidences to ignore. And just putting it out there from some research I've done. By the way, what these people define as research is often funny. From my curiosity over PG&E stocks, which tanked all week, then rallied Thursday night after California official announced they would not let PG&E fail. I find it very interesting that Roger Kimmel on the board of directors of PG&E is also vice chairman of...
And see, this is like what drives me nuts about conspiracy theorists is like they always start with that basis of information where I'm like, yeah, no, that is weird. That's actually, that's pretty crazy. Like, dude, the Rothschild, I mean, it's not crazy because you know that all of these people, the reason they're wealthy is because they have status and connections. So it's not crazy, but you're like, oh yeah, like I agree. Like this shouldn't be a thing that all these people own all the wealth in the world. We've talked about this.
Is also vice chairman of Rothschild Inc., international investment banking firm. Uh-oh. I also find it interesting the long history of financial contributions that PG&E has made to Jerry Brown over the years, millions spent in lobbying.
Yeah,
what a coincidence it must
crazy.
Be that Governor Brown signed a bill in September of 2018 protecting PG&E and allowing PG&E to pass off as most of fire responsibility to its customers in rate hikes and through bonds.
And that's
it
all
also
true.
Must be just a coincidence that the fires are burning in the same projected areas that the $77 billion...
And see, this is where they lose you. This is where they lose you. It's like, up to that point, you're like, yeah, all of that's crazy. Jerry Brown probably did get tons of donations from PG&E. The shareholders, as I can tell you right now in California, are paying right now for all the lines to be put underground. It's not PG&E paying for it. It's not the shareholders paying for it. It's the customers that are paying for it. Up until that point, you're like nodding. You're like, yeah, no, actually, that's all true. That's all true. And then she's like, and they're setting the fires in specific places. And you're like, oh, nope. God damn it. Got me again.
Are burning in the same projected areas that the $77 billion high-speed rail project is to be built, which also happens to be Governor Brown's pet project. And what are the odds that Feinstein's husband, another Jewish person,
and it's
Richard
always got to be
Bloom,
Jewish people, man.
another Jewish
Like,
person,
they always
is the
have to go after Jewish
contractor
people.
on the rail project.
It's
Geez, with
immigrants and
that
Jewish
much
people.
money, we could build 3 southern border walls. Then, oddly, there are all these people who have said they saw what looked like lasers or blue beams
Here
of
we
light
go.
causing the fires, and pictures and videos. I don't know anything about that, but I find it really curious, PG&E's partnership with Solarin on space solar generators starting in 2009. They announced the launch into space in 2018, maybe even put them up before that. Space solar generators collect the sun's energy and beam it back to Earth to a transmitter to convert to electricity. The idea is clean energy to replace coal and oil. If they are beaming the sun's energy back to Earth, I'm sure they wouldn't ever miss a transmitter receiving station, right? I mean, mistakes are never made when anything new is in.
And you know the best part about this is when you have somebody trying to talk about something as complicated as a space generator. First of all, I'm not ever sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene's even using the right words for any of this shit, right? Like, I'm not going to repeat anything this woman ever said because somebody looks at me and goes, space generator. I'm like, that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene called him? This is when you need like a Neil deGrasse Tyson around, right? Because you get why like people that are uneducated on these types of subjects fall for this shit. Because you're like, wow, that's true. Wow, that's a good point. They're like, oh, okay, do you understand at all how that would work to get it from there to the transmitter? Do you understand even like basically how that would work? And they're like, yeah, it just beams it. So, boo, just right to it. Boo, makes that sound and everything. And you're like, no, that's probably not how that works. There's probably a little bit more intellectual than that. There's probably more to it than that. And it's like, no, that's what they do. That's what they do. Like, do you think there's any connectors or anything? Do you think there's any safety features? Do you think there's any switches that shut off if a certain thing happens? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're burning down the forests. It's like when people try to. This is why experts are so important. When people try to dumb down something like the beaming of the sun's energy to a generator to create clean energy, when you try to dumb that down to explain that to other people, a lot of nuance is lost. And I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes. I'm not saying that really intelligent people don't make mistakes that result in tragedies for people. What I'm saying is that when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene is explaining it to you, instead of somebody that actually has like real actual expertise in this field, that should tell you something. That should tell you that most likely she's talking out of her ass, because nobody else is coming in and being like, yeah, what she said, actually, all of that's true. Let me show you why. That would be the follow-up. I get why uneducated people fall for it.
Receiving station, right? I mean, mistakes are never made when anything new is invented. What would that look like anyway? A laser beam or light beam coming down to Earth?
Alan.
Anyway,
what's up, Alan?
This goes on and on and on. And of course, the Rothschild family has featured very heavily in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories for a long time. Anti-Semites recently often replace Rothschilds with George Soros.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing is like, you keep taking it back to like this specific group of people, and it's like being an asshole is not it's not specific to any group of people. There are literally assholes in every ethnicity, every gender, every sexuality. I've said this before on my show. Like I've said, like, you know, when people, well, LGBT people don't ever do anything wrong, huh? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't think that I think there are people in the LGBT community that are assholes? I'm like, dude. You think that, like, I think no non-binary person is an asshole? I'm like, there are assholes all around the world in every ethnicity, every pay grade. There are poor assholes, rich assholes, middle-class assholes. There are transgender assholes, heterosexual assholes, gay assholes. That's kind of funny. Like, why does it always have to be Like, it's always this group of people. Like, Jewish people have some kind of, like, they own all the rights to being in charge of stuff. Like, all the Haitians have all the rights to taking over certain parts of America and making things bad for you. I guarantee you Americans make more bad for other Americans than immigrants do. How much you want to bet? It's crazy. It's just like so basic.
Anti-Semites recently often replace Rothschilds with George Soros. That's a replacement Jewish element to anti-Semitic theories.
Cajun.
And of course, Dianne Feinstein and her husband Richard
I'm a ginger
Bloom.
asshole, so
very, very Jewish oriented, as you can see. And you know, one of the really concerning things is it's not just that they aren't denouncing Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Republican side. They actually seem to be welcoming her and Lauren Boebert and Madison Cawthorn and others. Is this the new Republican Party? Like, it's after Trump, but it's not really post-Trump. The question...
Oh, this is kind of interesting because this is 3 years ago. Madison Cawthorn was still in office, and David Pakman is asking the question, is this the new Republican Party? Well, David Pakman from the past, I would like to let you know that this isn't just the new Republican Party. It is much, much worse than this. I like talking to past David Pakman. This is pretty cool.
Is this the new Republican Party? Like, it's after Trump, but it's not really post-Trump. The question was, would the strong center of the Republican Party become Trumpy? Or would they say, Trump is gone, these people have to go? Will they simply welcome anyone that will go along with their tax cuts, no matter how insane?
What do you guys think? Like, I'm 100% that I think that the center is giving in to Trump at this point, right? Like, they're pretty much pot committed. I think Republicans and conservatives at this point are so afraid of Donald Trump. There's like very rarely anybody with any like set of balls within the conservative party right now that stands up to Donald Trump. Not saying there's nobody. There is a couple people that are, and you know, hey, good on you. Way to be actually like the one person that's not a coward in your party. But I think most people right now are so scared of Donald Trump, and they're worried that if Donald Trump wins, that they'll just like be completely cut out of the will, you know, that they won't stand up against him. Looking back on 3 years ago, David Pakman asking this question, what do you guys think? Do you think the center of the conservative party since this video 3 years ago has become more conspiratorial, more MAGA crazy, more insane, or do you think that it's just about the same, or do you think it's better? Like, I'm 100% that these people are pot committed to Donald Trump because they're scared of him at this point. I think if he loses in 2024, which he most likely will, I still have Kamala up 273, 265. That's my current prediction. 273, 265. Shouldn't be that close, but it's going to be. That's what I believe it's going to be. What do you guys think? I think if he loses, then the conservatives will come out and be like, oh, yeah, we knew Donald Trump was shit the whole time. We just wanted him out of here. You know, but I think they're afraid he's going to win. I think they're scared to death of him.
Simply welcome anyone that will go along with their tax cuts, no matter how insane, and that includes Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know the answer. It's still early, but so far, there doesn't seem to be any big rush among the Republican establishment to say these people are nuts and they've got to go. Remember that when they say that oath, all enemies, foreign and domestic. Isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene an example of a domestic enemy we should be protected from, and not the type of person that should be protecting or claiming to protect anybody from anything? And we're going to be talking about that more generally. But unfortunately, it doesn't end there with Marjorie Taylor Greene. When you see me sitting here at the microphone, oftentimes I'm wearing...
Stop it, David. I don't even know if this is still a pertinent ad. Whatever David's selling, you guys should buy it. It's looks like it's a shirt. This is not paid promotion. Also, How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy. I love that book. I might buy that book. I just got sucked in. See how that works? Books are how you get me. If you have books, I get excited over books. Cajun says there's been a lot of podcasts that have been taken down lately. Yeah, I don't. If you don't follow Right Play, you should follow Right Play. I like Right Play. He's my buddy. Yeah, a subscriber that has his own channel. And I was just over there in his channel the other day, banning people for him because it does seem like there is something going on. I don't do drama. I don't get involved in a lot of stuff. I will give my point of view on certain things, but for the most part, I'm an old man that's a dad that has a career outside of YouTube, so I don't get caught up in a lot of stuff going on YouTube, but it does seem as though, and if you want more answers to this, you should go check out Right Play's channel. Ask him. He knows a lot more about this than I do. But it does seem as though there are certain people attempting to go on like debate shows and stuff like that, and to attempt to get those people to like do certain things or say certain things, or the guest will say certain things that seems to be getting their podcast taken down. I know that TikTok is pretty extreme about like what they believe is like violations of the terms of service, and I know that a lot of these debate guys do TikTok streams. So I know that a lot of them are having their streams taken down. I know Tommy, who is Doode, Doode, another guy that you should subscribe to. Really dope. I like to watch him debate. I know that he, in the middle of streams, will have his stream taken down by TikTok for violations. So it does seem as though there are some people out there that are attempting to cause certain streams to be taken down. I'm very hesitant to talk about it because I don't know anything about it and I don't want to talk out my ass. I don't like talking about things I don't know anything about and I don't have information on. I think that it's inappropriate for me to do so. So that's about where I'll leave it, is like that I understand that certain streams are supposedly, allegedly, being attacked by certain bad actors that seem to be trying to say things on their show that can potentially get their shows taken down. That's also just something that I will take or talk about, is why I don't do these types of things on my show. I'm happy to oftentimes go on other people's shows and talk about things. I would even go on someone else's show and debate them. But the reason that I don't bring people on my show, the reason I don't debate people on this show, is because all it takes is somebody saying certain things. Even me just watching that Vice video could get my channel in trouble. Even though Vice has the video up and has been up, not all accounts get treated equally. And I'm almost to 18,000 subscribers, I think. But I'm definitely not Vice's size. So, that video could get me in trouble, but it doesn't get Vice in trouble. And that's kind of just the way the economy works in YouTube. But what I will say is that the reason that you guys won't find me doing something that could probably make my channel a lot more popular, which is the debate thing, you definitely get more money that way. You definitely get more donations that way. But like I said, I have a career outside of YouTube, so I don't really need it. This is a hobby for me. I like to get on here and talk to you guys. I like being around you guys. I enjoy the conversations I have with you guys. And I like trying to make a difference in our communities and in the country as a whole. And hopefully, like, one day I'll be big enough to maybe, have conversations with people that I can trust to not try and get my channel taken down. But all it takes is somebody, saying the N-word a bunch of times on my channel by bringing them on, and my channel is done. That's all it takes. And I'm not interested. So I don't take those risks. So for those debate guys out there, support those guys. Dude, you should support Dude. I like Right Play. You should support Right Play. You should also go out and check out Parker and Dean. Parker Get a Job. Dean is his buddy. Those guys are awesome. Carbon, Karbon, also really good debater. I loved his shit. I watched it the other night. I'm subscribed over there. New to YouTube. He's got about 1,000 subscribers right now, and he should have about 1 million. So check out Carbon. Really cool conversations over there as well. If you guys want debates, that's where you should go. I'm probably Destiny. Destiny's really good at debating. You won't like all of his opinions, but you never should like everybody's opinion on everything. But Destiny is probably, out of everybody, in my opinion, the best debater that I think I've ever seen, hands down, whether or not you like him or not. But in my opinion, probably the best debater. So we like to watch, guys. We like to watch the Lincoln Project. We usually watch the Lincoln Project, where Republicans hold Republicans accountable. This is some shit that can get you in trouble. So first of all, trigger warning. This is physical violence. If you're not okay with physical violence, or if you're not Not okay with watching one MAGA supporter go after another MAGA supporter in what is insane to watch. But just like, I wanted to show you guys this because this is what I think of when I see a MAGA. And also, by the way, I'm an MMA fan. I'm a boxing fan. I don't have any aversion to physical violence. Never have been. I've gotten in a lot of fights in my life. Not in the past 20 years, just so you guys know. It's been a while. I'm a grown man now. I don't do that shit. But if you're not into it, this isn't the part for you. Just want to give you guys a little bit of trigger warning there. But this is apparently what happened at I believe this is a rally for Trump, where two merchandisers were in line at a MAGA rally, and this happened. And if you notice, look at this. Look at the girl. The girl walking around, she's recording it. He's recording it. No one's helping this man. Now this guy and this guy, I'm guessing that's a security officer wearing a fanny pack? I'm just going to be honest with you guys. When the mob turns on itself, I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it. UFC 307 tonight. Damn right, Alan. Damn right, Alan. It's gonna Roundtree versus Pereira. I don't do Pereira all day long. I don't think Roundtree has a chance. I mean, there's, the people always talk about the upsets, and I get that. I understand. Like when Strickland beat Adesanya. That was crazy. But I don't think this is the same case. I think Roundtree loses to Pereira convincingly. But look, end of the day, I feel it's actually important to show this kind of stuff because I think that people should see this and understand. It's a mob. It's a cult. And when you are a part of the mob, there's a chance that the mob turns on you. And that's what happened in this. It was, here it is. It was a Michigan rally, Saginaw, Michigan rally. A white MAGA supporter attacked a black MAGA supporter. And this is like, I was talking about the KKK pulling in minorities earlier. This is one of those things I think like minorities don't understand, like how deep into the actual like white nationalism that Trump and his supporters are, how much of that Kool-Aid they've drank. And if you are a black man or a minority or you are LGBT and you are a part of the Trump group, you should be aware that these people will turn on you. These people will turn on you at any fucking moment for any reason. If Donald Trump were to tell his supporters that you were part of the issue, that you were part of the Haitians, shit, you would be lucky if you're an African American that does not get judged as potentially being a Haitian by one of these Trump supporters. Like, you can imagine the type of things that got said to this man before this fight started. You can imagine. I wish they would have video of what got said by this white man to this black man before this fight started. Because I guarantee you that would be a small peek into the white nationalism that is rampant within Trump's ideology. Yeah, O'Malley getting beat. I called O'Malley getting beat, to be honest with you. I know O'Malley's got power in them little hands he's got. I know that he may look like he's 110 pounds, but the man hits like he's 250. But wrestlers, man, I don't love watching people wrestle. It's not my style. But wrestlers versus strikers, every single time, those guys are just going to get taken down and mauled. Khabib versus Conor. Like, I loved Conor up to that point. Conor's a fucking psycho, but I love Conor up to that point. But when he was talking about trash to Khabib, I was like, dog, this is going to end badly for you. And it did. Saginaw is KKK's beach? No doubt, huh? I should check out Saginaw and see what it is. Yeah, he couldn't fight, and he got drugged to the ground. Exactly. Yeah, they're going to turn on him. And that it is sad. Like I said, take a look next time that there's a State of the Union address. You don't even have to. You can go Google it right now. Here, let's take a look at the State of the Union. House of Representatives, I guess, would probably be a better. Let's see if we can see. Like, when you look at this crowd, I'm trying to look. When you look at this crowd, when you look at the left versus the right, you can see the difference in diversity. Now, there's still way too many white people. Way too many. And I'm not saying that white people shouldn't be a part of this. My point is that when you look at the diversity on either side of the aisle, it should be African Americans. There should be LGBT people. There should be minorities. You know, that like this is something that we should see in our house, is diversity. And when you're the one person that is an African American, like Byron Donalds over on the right, when you're the one person that is gay on the right, when you are the one person that is, you know, that shows any type of diversity at all, I mean, look at that picture. I'm a white dude. I don't think being racist against white people is acceptable either. But you call a spade a spade. And this is a picture of nothing but white dudes. And the reason that's a problem is because when you don't have diversity of thought, when you don't have experience of culture, you cannot run a country that is as diverse and has as many cultures as America does effectively. White men, wealthy white dudes, can't speak to what's going on in the poor African American community. Straight white men can't speak to what is going on in the LGBT community. It's not about just having a colorful look, right? Like, it's not just about like we're making the gays feel like they're part of the community. No, it's about like, there's an actual logical reason behind why diversity is important. And that's because in a country the size of America, if we don't have diversity of thought amongst our leaders, then we don't have fair representation. We need to have people that have been through the things we've been through, right? Like, one of the reasons that I like AOC, right? One of the reasons I like AOC is because AOC was a waitress. AOC was a bartender. AOC didn't come from these huge connections like with the Clintons or the Obamas or whoever. No, she like came up from I wouldn't say the bottom, but she came up from a lower class than most politicians come from. Therefore, that changes the way that she thinks about legislation and policies and the way that she determines how she's going to deal with her constituents. And I'm not saying that eventually AOC doesn't turn into just another politician or a person that doesn't really care about a constituent. That's a possibility. But at least we have that diversity of thought. We have somebody that is a Latino. Is she Puerto Rican? I think she's Puerto Rican. That comes from a middle class or blue collar background. She's a female. She represents something that isn't very well represented within our political sphere. And I mean that on both sides. I think that even the left needs to become more diverse. I don't think the left has reached the amount of diversity that it needs to have. We need people from the lower class, the middle class, and even the upper class. We need people that are minorities, people that are Caucasian, people that are male, people that are female, people that represent non-binary. We need people from all sexualities. Because if we can have that within our Congress, then we can start to have fair representation when it comes time to vote for these bills that affect the people that potentially these politicians come from, these cultures that these people come from. It's very, very important to the running of this country that happens. And all I'm saying is currently what's going on the right, the left has its own things that should be looked at. but you can't compare the left and the right currently as far as diversity goes. The left is much more diverse than the right is, and the reason that the right has any diversity at all is so that way they can point at a black dude and go, see, that's my black friend, I'm not racist. The only reason they have any gay people at all is either because the gay dude is going like, wow, fucking, I can grift so hard over here by just being the one gay dude on this side, or it's so they can point at him and go, look, we're not homophobic, we have a gay member. You know, like, my point is that when you see a fight like this in a MAGA crowd, you can't help but wonder, do those people care at all that black man is getting beaten by this dude? Or are they like, that's what he deserves? I hate to say that. That's literally what I think about these types of crowds specifically, because they are very much like a mob. These are people that don't think. These are people that do. And it's just insane. Oh, okay. You mistyped. Literally 15 minutes north of Saginaw starts a long strip of KKK beaches, and Saginaw is mixed leaning black. That's why that stuff happened at the Trump rally. Yeah, exactly, right? Like it's the people that would go to that rally, because not all of those people are from that area. Alan Hinkle, remember when Wallace used to have black man with him at all times? No, I should look that up though. So speaking of just like, today I wanted to go over just like all the insanity that's been going on in MAGA, because I think it's really important to remind people that this isn't a small instance within the MAGA community. This is prevalent throughout the MAGA community. Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about all kinds of crazy-ass conspiracy theories, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg being a body double and Jewish space lasers. A black merchandiser at a Trump rally getting beat up by a white man. And then this guy right here who claims, this video right here is a video of a man who claims, okay, that this is all a joke, guys. This man bought a Taylor Swift autographed guitar for $4,000 and decided to break it in front of all these kids. Now, there's a lot to go over just with that opening statement. But isn't it always insane that these people complain about the economy? They complain about how immigrants are taking their jobs, or they can't buy a home, or they don't have any money because the government's giving all the money to the Haitian immigrants. Yet this man has $4,000 to buy a guitar and smash it. It seems ironic. So anyways, let's watch the video, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some other things that I find highly insane about this video.
Joking, because we don't need the wall hanger. Hey, Gary, now take that and hang up that busted thing.
So, I just want to point out a couple things about this video. This guy, 67-year-old Gary, went viral for spending $4,000 to take a hammer to a Taylor Swift guitar. He's a Donald Trump supporter who insists he did it for a joke. Okay, the extremely red-faced man who paid $4,000 for a guitar and took a hammer to it. What about that is funny unless you're a Trump supporter that hates Taylor Swift? Like, am I missing the funny part? I know that the right wing at this point has decided that comedy, like, oh, the liberals just don't want to laugh at our funny jokes. This shit ain't funny. It's not a joke. That's like if we watched that other video that we just watched, where that white man beat up that black man, and you're like, but it's funny because that's the joke, is the white guy's beating up the black. Get it? Like, no, nothing about it is funny. It's not funny. Like, this isn't some kind of like, it's not my kind of humor. It's not funny. And you literally went up on stage and took a hammer to a guitar over and over again that has the image of Taylor Swift on it in front of children to prove your loyalty to Donald Trump. Why would kids need to be there to watch you break a Taylor Swift guitar? This isn't funny. It's fucking weird. Okay? And this guy, take one more look. Take one more look at this dude. And listen to the laughing. Listen to the laughing.
Because we don't need the wall hanger.
Take a look at this guy's face. His blood pressure is through the roof. This is the type of shit where he is lucky that he did not just like kill over right here. Like if this dude had a heart attack while doing this, I would not have been surprised. As I pointed out before, you can see this is a guitar that has Taylor Swift's image on it. And he is hitting it with a hammer over and over and over again. Like this isn't like even a person that just walks up and smashes the guitar on the stage, right? I mean, it'd still be weird, but there is a very visceral thing to what he is doing at this point. He is taking a hammer to it. He didn't walk up, smash it on the ground, hold it up, and go, yeah! That would have been a little bit funnier. It still wouldn't have been funny, pretty much at all. But you could at least be like, oh, okay. He was trying to make a joke. I like that there's a fucking sniper rifle in the background. Or a hunting rifle. Oh my God! Oh, dude. Anyways, listen to the laughing. Listen to this guy in the background laughing, too. It's not a joke. This is what MAGA does nowadays. MAGA says crazy shit or they do dumb shit, and then they go, "Bro, it's just a joke. You're just a lib cuck that doesn't know how to laugh, bro. Like, dude, it's just funny. It's just for laughs." No, it's not funny. Like, I'm not mad. Like, I'm not angry about. I'm just like, this isn't funny. There's nothing. It's absurd to think that this is a joke, and the people that are like, dude, it's just a joke. Like, you are standing for this dumb shit. At the least, you'd be like, okay, they thought it was a joke, but it isn't funny, right? Like, that would be something that I would accept. Is somebody saying, well, they thought it was a joke, but it wasn't funny. But that's not what they said. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's just for some laughs. I can't even say, how do you even say the name of the city? Waxahachie? Waxahachie? Is the X like a K sound? Waxahachie? And just outside Dallas, he immediately smashed the guitar to the roar of a crowd. He later confirmed speculation that he was reacting to Swift's recent endorsement of Trump's rival Vice President Kamala Harris, as he is a Donald Trump supporter. Once again, that's not a joke. Yeah, it was 100% staged for sure, Woke Mike. It's not like they set that up. It wasn't, once again, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Woke Mike, is if it was like spur of the moment, like he walked up and grabbed the guitar and smashed it, you might be like, okay, I see what he's going for. But it's obviously staged. It was a children's charity. Like, children love Taylor Swift. That is so weird that you would do that at a children's charity. Like, I would even be a little more... Nah, it'd be actually fucking crazier. If they did this at a Trump rally, I think it'd actually be crazier. Because that'd be like, you're like, oh shit, what is he trying to insinuate? Wait, he wants done to Taylor Swift. And that's my point. Like, what are you trying to insinuate you want done to Taylor Swift? He said, this is a quote from this gentleman. There was nothing malicious or anything about it. It was just a joke at an auction that we had to raise money for kids, right? And that's all it was. There's nothing mean about it, nothing bad about it. It was just a joke that they were making up on stage, and we just followed through with a joke. It was a funny, lighthearted thing. I know maybe it seemed to be malicious, but everybody was laughing. That's a hell of a thing to say. I know it seemed to be malicious, but everybody was laughing. Like if there was a lynching going on and a bunch of white people were laughing while a black man was being hung, that would still be bad. That would still be evil. That would still be malicious. Even if people were laughing, that would still be bad. It doesn't make it, because people are laughing does not make it a joke. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with these people? There were people at the time who joked around that he's mad because he doesn't know how to play the guitar. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, shucks. Oh, somebody in the crowd made a joke, so that makes us all, it's just all funny, guys. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about, guys. However, after speaking with the man, Meyer noted that it was clear the act was a political statement. Taylor Swift, it became a political thing, and that was kind of the gist of it. Just a lighthearted bit of a dig at Taylor for coming out politically and entertainers using their influence to influence politics. You could make the argument that, yeah, that was a message to Taylor Swift. You could make the argument that that was a message to Taylor Swift. But then you're going to have to convince me of what exactly that message meant. If that was a message to Taylor Swift, what were you trying to tell Taylor Swift by taking a hammer to a guitar with her face on it? There's a lot going on here that is absolutely ridiculous. And to just be like, ha, it was a funny. It was just a funny, guys. It's fucking ridiculous. Dude, it's insane. So a bunch of people watched it. This video did go viral. This dude did come out and say, oh, no, I didn't really, that's not what it was about. What's up, James? Haven't seen you for a bit, buddy. Golf Marine, what's going on? I see you. Saw you earlier, too. Yeah, hate is stupid. It's not funny. Like, you can't, do something. Like, you can't, domestically violence your wife and then be like, I did it for the laughs. You can't, assault a person and be like, I did it for the laughs. Like, it's not funny. Like you guys ever see these pranks they do? Some of these YouTubers, I fucking hate them. These pranks they do where they either commit physical violence or they try to get the person who's reacting to commit physical violence. That's not funny. It's stupid. And people that watch it are stupid. If you watch a person antagonize another person into physical violence and that shit's funny to you, I'm just not down with that. Because I come from a place where that shit'll get you shot. That's what happened to that dude the other day. He approached a mentally ill, I guess it was a year ago or so. He approached a mentally ill person in the hospital or in the mall. Obviously, he did not know that this person was going through this, but the dude he approached happened to be, not well mentally, and he tried to do something to him. I forgot what it was, but the man had a gun in his pocket. So there's a lot we could talk about this scenario that was bad. And he had a gun in his pocket, and he shot the dude. Shot the kid in the stomach. I don't believe that the kid deserved to be shot, but I'm also saying, the things he was doing, he's, doing this towards people's faces. I forget what it was, but what he was doing was trying to incite violence towards himself to get it on tape, and then he incited violence with the wrong person and got shot. Now, like I said, I'm against gun violence. I don't think that man should have shot him. But I also think that you shouldn't be out there trying to attempt to cause people to attack you so that way you can use it for YouTube views. And not a single thing about any of it was funny. It's not funny. It's just stupid. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Trump supporter breaking a fucking Taylor Swift guitar or if you're the dude in the mall trying to incite violence so that way you can get YouTube clicks. Neither person is funny. It's just stupid. It's insane. The guitar could have fed all the hungry children in 10 Mile Radius. Exactly. Dude had $4,000. Yeah, I do believe it was karma, Danny. I don't disagree with that. That $4,000, it did go to a charity, so I'm not going to act as though the money didn't go to children, right? But you didn't need to do that. You could have just taken that $4,000 and you could have just fed children. You could have taken that $4,000 and went down to a homeless shelter. These are the same people that talk about homeless vets all the goddamn time. You could have used that $4,000 to put up a homeless vet in a home for a couple months. There's a lot that could have been done with that money that didn't need to involve the smashing of a Taylor Swift autographed guitar with a hammer. By the way, it wasn't even actually Taylor Swift's autographed, so that's even funnier. But yeah. Straight Facts No Chaser. Should I watch it? Let's watch a Straight Facts No Chaser video real quick because I did see that it was up and I did think it looked great because I love Straight Facts No Chaser. That's my boy. Oh, here it is right here. Let's watch this video real quick and then we're going to talk a little bit. Well, I guess we already talked a little bit about Rob Schneider, but we're going to talk a little bit about him anyways. But oh, and also Anna. Do you guys know about Anna saying she's leaving the left? Because I don't know anything about that, and I just saw these videos come out that show that Anna apparently, who I don't think was exactly a real hard leftist in the first place, but apparently she's leaving the left. Where is she going? Is she going to the right? Am I going to start seeing Anna Kasparian on Fox News? Is that what's going to happen? Dude, that would be insane.
Hey everyone, big heads up. Paleo Valley's running a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You can get 30 sticks for 36.
I'm sure you guys.
All right, this is my boy Straight Facts No Chaser. I'm actually going to put his. I've been. Well, actually, I haven't been watching videos today. We have gone through this entire time not really watching videos. We've been just me talking and playing X stuff. That's pretty crazy. Straight Facts No Chaser. This is my boy Straight Facts No Chaser. He doesn't know he's my boy. He's my dude. But I love this dude. He's my brother from another mother. Like, I swear to God, like, this guy says all the shit I think. But he's way funnier than I am. So you guys should 100% be, you guys should come over here and check out Straight Facts No Chaser. You should subscribe. You should go over here and like this video. It just came out 5 hours ago. I love this dude to death. He is one of the funniest human beings on the internet, period. One of the funniest people. So let's check out like a Straight Facts No Chaser video that just came out. Please go over. Please like. Please subscribe. Please support good people. This video is called "Why Would Anyone Join the MAGA Clowns?" And that's a solid ass question.
What's up, everybody? So one of the things that's been bothering me lately is that I've come to the understanding that we keep talking to the idiot in the room, the one that doesn't want to learn. And just like the rest of my mutuals, I'm sure you guys have seen that the people that follow you, they know this stuff and they know to research it and they know not to step into my comment section with nonsense because I'm going to call them out. So more than likely, they won't come in here unless they've done some homework and therefore we can be able to have a conversation. Other than that, I either ignore them or I light their asses up with knowledge. But what I realize is that intellectually, a lot of these people will never be on our levels.
Yeah, and that's something that needs to be discussed more often. Like, that's one of the reasons, like, I've actually stopped replying to a lot of comments in the comment section that are just, like, the morons that come in. It's like, I've listened to enough of these debates between Dean and Parker and Dude with Republicans to realize that, like, these are not intelligent people. They don't think about the things that they believe. They've never actually, even though they tell you all the time, do your own research, they don't actually do it. There was a guy that went on Dude's show the other day, and he was like, I have 2 master's degrees, and 157 IQ, and I'm way smarter than you'll ever be in your life. I'm the head of IT. I don't know why he thought that was like something to brag about, but he kept saying he was the head of IT. Which I'm like, okay, good for you. You've made it to the top of the fucking turn it off and turn it back on again. Okay, good job. But you hear somebody say that and you go, okay, let's hear what you have to say. And almost immediately he asks him, name 3 policies from Donald Trump. And this dude who's claiming he's fucking a genius. So this is the top of the shit heap. This is the pinnacle of Turd Mountain. This is a guy who believes he is the king of the morons. And he couldn't name a policy. I can name 3 policies. The STEP Act. I can tell you about Donald Trump's marijuana. I can tell you about his right to try. You know, like, I can name his tax cuts. Like, I couldn't believe it. The guy didn't even bring up his tax cuts. But the reason that he didn't bring up the tax cuts is because he doesn't actually understand the policies behind the tax cuts. So many of these Trump supporters complain about taxes today and don't even realize that we're literally still under Donald Trump's tax cuts and will be until 2025, because that's how tax reform works. People, they don't realize that tax laws are put in and then they go for a certain period of time and then new tax laws are created. It's fucking insane. This guy claims he's like the smartest of the MAGA clowns, and he gets on there and he can't name a single policy. I can name multiple policies, and I can tell you why they were good and bad. They don't talk about the tariffs because they know that they don't know anything about tariffs. It's insane. My uncle went to MIT. Yeah,
Other than that, I either ignore them or I light their asses up with knowledge. But what I realize is that intellectually, a lot of these people will never be on our levels. So I'm asking myself, and I'll ask you too, you can put in the comment section, why are we talking to these dumbasses? I mean, the dumbassery.
You guys answer that question. Why?
I mean,
why are we talking?
It is too easy to find facts, but they resort to their feelings about what they think are facts. And what got me was at the debate, you had J.D. Vance literally say that the Democrats were trying to censor the Republicans for their right to lie to their constituents, to the United States, and to the world.
But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade.
No, and this is what I was saying, is like, this idea, let's just use African Americans as an example. This idea that Facebook or Instagram, and I would say X, but X already does allow this, it should be okay for you to go on there and say to the world, not just to your community, not just to your buddy, not just to your aunt, but to say to the world that you think African Americans are inferior to white Americans and that their brain size is smaller, that they commit more crime, all of these things that these fucking knuckleheads believe. And that Facebook should not be allowed to say to that person, that doesn't represent my company, therefore I'm going to take that down. If you were to say that in, let's say, Georgia right now, African Americans are rioting and they are murdering, oops, almost knocked over my light, murdering white people. Like, there should be fact checking for that type of thing. And Facebook should be allowed to take it down because it is incorrect and it can lead to people being hurt. And actually, MAGA makes the very argument with their actions for why it is important that those things are dealt with on these social media platforms. And that's because those of us that are like logical human beings, we want to have conversations. Like, I don't mind debating with a racist over their racist bullshit because I don't think that they don't have anything. I think that regular, everyday human beings that they just want to live their lives and let other people live theirs would agree with my point of view. So I don't mind having that debate. But we all know, because of MAGA Republicans, that there's plenty of people out there right now that will become racist against Haitian immigrants based off of a social media tweet that was literally created and pushed by a neo-Nazi, and that actually affects people's lives. There was that Haitian that we were watching the video of that he said, I used to take my kid to the park and we'd ride bikes, and now I can't do that because everywhere we go, like, people look at us crazy. They think we're like stealing their pets. They think we're eating their animals. There is a thin line that as voters, as citizens, not voters even, as citizens, when it comes to free speech, that we have to recognize we have responsibility and accountability to not put on these platforms that can reach millions of people things that can lead to the harm of other people. That's our responsibility. And if we can't be responsible for that, if we don't take any accountability for that, then yes. There goes a helicopter right over my house. That was crazy. Hopefully there's not a fire right by my house. That is their responsibility to take that down because it's their business. It's a lot like people say this. They go, well, it's a public forum. It's not a public forum. The public forum is right outside. Go on outside. That's where the public forum is. You want to go spew hateful things? You can literally go out on the corner and tell anybody you want, whatever you believe. No one will stop you. Guess what you can't do? You can't yell at people that you're going to harm them. You can't yell fire in a theater. You can't do anything that may lead to the harm of another person. That's against the law. So even in the actual public forum, there are rules regarding free speech. It is not absolute. There is no such thing as absolute free speech. In a world that includes absolute free speech, there is chaos. Instead, we have the next best thing. You should be responsible with your rights. You should hold yourself accountable with your rights. I wouldn't allow one of my employees to go up front and yell out the N-word in my store. I would fire them immediately, and I would have cause to do so, and it would be upheld in court. If one of my employees yelled the N-word in the front of my store and I fired them, that could go all the way to the Supreme Court, and I would be found to have cause to do so. Fuck your feelings.
Aid one another. Let's argue about government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment.
Knows?
I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
He literally said, we have a right to lie to our people, and the Democrats want us to tell the truth. Say what? That was really something you said to the masses? And these dipshits were still saying he won. How? He literally said the Democrats want to tell y'all the truth, and they won't let us lie to y'all. They're bad people. They're trying to censor us from lying. And when they get fact-checked, which everybody should,
crazy.
They get pissed. I thought there wasn't going to be any fact-checking. Who in their right mind should have agreed to no fact-checking? You're telling me that you want your party to represent you to be a party of liars. If they're willing to lie to you, then everything they're promising you is what? A lie. And you want to vote for the guy fighting for his rights to lie to you. Misinformation.
Imagine being in like a relationship with your significant other. Imagine having you're a dude and you got a girlfriend, and you come home late one day, and she's like, "Where have you been?" And you're like, "I was at work." And she's like, "I called your work and you weren't there," and you were like, "No fact checking." Like, there's so many scenarios where an individual saying to another individual, "Yo, you don't get to determine whether or not I told the truth or not. That's crazy." No, that's crazy. Imagine going to your boss and your boss is like, "Bro, where you been?" And you're like, "What do you mean, where have I been?" You're like, "I haven't been able to find you for the last 2 hours." And you're like, "No, I was out on the floor working." And he's like, "I watched the video. You weren't in the store." And you're like, "No fact checking." Imagine getting pulled over by a police officer for speeding, and he's like, "Sir, do you know what what I pulled you over for?" And you're like, "No, I have no idea." And he's like, "Well, sir, you were speeding." And you're like, "No, I wasn't. I was going 55, and the speed limit is 55. And he turns the fucking gun towards you, and it says 75 on it. And so he goes, "Sir, right here it says you went 75. And you're like, "No fact checking." In every one of those instances, can you tell me who is in the wrong? Can you tell me who is in the wrong? This helicopter going over my house.
Disinformation. I'm fighting so that we can have access to disinformation. That literally came out this fool's mouth. And I haven't heard any of these mainstream media people harping on that. I've heard them mention it like a flyby statement. I'm like, flyby? That should have been the number one thing they spoke about, and they still should be talking about it. This man is fighting to lie to you. He's not fighting to get you what you need. He's not fighting for any kind of programs to help your life out. He's not fighting for anything other than the same old Republican tired-ass statements of tax cuts is going to help you, yet they never have. Tax cuts help the wealthy majorly. Over 80-some% of wealthy people benefited from it the most. Middle class got some. The poor, y'all was left out. It's just insane. And you have this revisionist history as if the Republican Party has really ever gave a damn about you. You can go back and look at the last 10 presidents, all the way back to Nixon, and you will see they have been playing this top-down bullshit forever. Yep. And every last time these top-down bullshits have happened, it has fucked up our economy. It has made the rich richer, made the middle class poorer, made the poor people poorer. And you guys literally want to have that back again. The only people who want Republicans back that they would benefit from are wealthy people and middle class people who know how to run the system. Poor people, working class poor people. You'll never benefit from them. Ever, ever, ever. Go back and look at it. When was the last time they created a plan that benefited you, that focused on you, and made the rich people an afterthought, but made the poor people a forethought? When? It has never happened. It has never, ever happened in the Republican Party. It goes against their ideology. They want you to pull yourself up by your financial bootstraps, right? While at the same time, they want to hold you back economically and intellectually.
Yeah, I mean, you see that what's going on right now in North Carolina with the very shit we were talking about with Marjorie Taylor Greene and those areas, is that Republicans and the conservative ideology is a selfish ideology. And I don't think that conservatives even, like, say that it isn't. I think most conservatives are like, well, yeah, it's me first. Me always. I shouldn't have to pay for your healthcare. I shouldn't have to pay for your insurance. I shouldn't have to pay for your safety. I shouldn't have to pay for anything. It's like, it's me all day long. And then something like what happens in Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia happens, and it's like, the government failed us. They should be giving us money. And it's like, oh, well, all of a sudden, like, you're not so, big on the FEMA thing now. All of a sudden, you want FEMA now? Like, you're not so big on the selfish? Like, no, but actually it is. It's actually more selfish. It's because they don't want FEMA to help you, but they do want FEMA to help them. And that's why, like I've always said, like, I tend to have some very centrist values. I tend to have my most important values being my progressive values. And I tend to have some, like, economically, like, fiscal conservative values in certain places. Not very many. I have a couple, right? So I would say, like, I definitely lean left harder than anything else. I'm pretty sure if I took a political thing, which I will, a political test at one point, I'm pretty sure I lean pretty hard left, but not like as far as, like, say, like a lot of far left progressives do. Definitely not like communist, tanky stuff. But the reason I do that is because I'm, like, anti-selfishness. I know that, like, I got here because of other people. I know that I have the things I have because other people have helped me in my life. I know that, like, the greatest benefit to America is our ability to work together as a team and like have like this diversity of thought. Like those are all things that are like very core to my values. And so everything about conservatism and selfishness is just anti what I believe. And so that's why I think like there's some things like I could talk about with conservatives as far as like being pro death penalty. I'm pro death penalty for certain people. I'm pro Second Amendment, but with accountability and responsibility. I'm okay with like some of the conservative stuff where they want transparency in the government for like funding and stuff like that. Like I agree with all that stuff. But like those things aren't enough to offset, like to pull me close to the right because of the selfishness. Because once we get outside of like little small areas of like things where I think it's just like kind of logical to have conversations with conservatives about certain things, once we get past those things, like the selfishness that is like so prevalent on the right, I can't get with it. I look around at the people that I love, the people that I enjoy, the people that I see that I feel empathy for on the news, specifically even like these conservatives that live in these towns that are in rural areas that now have like National Guard people like dropping off food and water to them. I have empathy for those people, but they don't have empathy for you. And that's insane. It's insane that I sit here and think, wow, that sucks that these people might not have the ability to vote for the candidate that they think is best. And of course, these people are most likely going to vote for Trump. Now, I can have empathy that you're not going to be able to vote for the person that you want to vote for. But then I look at the way that you vote and the fact that you vote against FEMA. You vote against mail-in ballots. You vote against everything that could help other people out because you're afraid that those people might get what they want. And you vote against your own interests in doing so. So it's hard to have empathy for those people. And that's why I have a hard time ever getting pulled further towards the right outside of certain logical conversations that I believe I can have with conservatives.
By your financial bootstraps, right? While at the same time, they want to hold you back economically and intellectually. They don't want you to pull yourself up by your intellectual bootstraps. What other party would literally say, I love the poorly educated? Poorly educated people. Do you love being poorly educated? How's that work out for you?
That's what needs to be said.
The poorly educated does not benefit from this country. The poorly educated has never really owned a house or owned stock. The poorly educated don't get shit in this country. Manual labor, and manual labor is going away. Robots are coming. So you poorly educated people are fucked. And they say they like you. Not only like you, they love you. Yep. Which means you are the engine in which drives.
And this is one thing that like conservatives don't understand. Like they're like, yeah, we don't want automation and stuff. It's like, you do know what Elon Musk does, right? You do know what Peter Thiel wants, right? But the answer is no. They don't know. They just know that this rich, influential billionaire supports their candidate. Like, of all people, Andrew Yang was talking about this forever ago, about the necessity of UBI. And yet, these people that are like blue-collar workers that could lose their jobs, truck drivers and stuff, literally would vote against UBI because they're afraid you'll get that money. So then when automation comes in and takes over these jobs from them and they don't get UBI, they're going to start complaining that they're out of work, that they don't have any money, and it's all the government's fault. But the reality is that you voted to stop the very programs that would keep you from being poverty-stricken because you were afraid somebody else was going to get something. It's your selfishness biting you in the ass. That's how that works.
Them to their Porsches, drives them into their mansions, drives them into their yachts,
good to see you, T.
their own planes.
I saw you Instagram
you're
stuff.
the
Thanks
engine.
for sending me stuff,
while
Tia.
you're giving
I
them
appreciate
money
it.
to
Makes
be
me
rich
laugh.
as fuck,
Some of it makes me
thinking
cry.
they got your best interest. They pulling your chain. And your chain is racism. Your chain is sexism. Your chain is homophobia. Your chain is not having, but it is the rich that holds you back from not having because intellectually they know you're inept. All they got to do is.
And what is the what is the commonality in everything that he's saying and everything I'm saying? It's fear. When I say you don't want to give money to others, it's because you're afraid that somebody else is going to get a hand up. When I say that that housing, getting a $25,000 grant is good because it's going to improve the economy and it's going to improve people's lives, which improves the economy, why does that make you upset? Well, it's because you're afraid that it's going to make housing more expensive. You're afraid that someone's going to get a grant from the government that you don't qualify for. All the things that he's talking about as well are all fear-based things, and there's a connection between being poorly educated or not educated at all and fear. That's where the term fear of the other comes from, right? When the other night I was having a conversation with somebody in Discord where we were talking about abortion rights. And we were talking about like certain things and where our morals come from. And my morals are based in a couple books that I read later in life called the Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt and William von Hippel's Social Leap. And like I use those two books to kind of build a foundation. And then I've watched a lot of philosophy and stuff that determine where my morals come from, right? And in doing so, in having this discussion about morals and stuff like that, I talked about racism because up until my mid-20s, if you said the N-word around me, I would punch you in the face. I didn't have a problem with it. Like physical violence was never off the table for me because of the way I grew up. Because like that's how we did things. And so I got to a point in my life where obviously those types of things could get me put in prison, take me away from my children. My wife is not exactly excited about me doing things like that. And so, I sat down and I thought about it and I thought like, where does this come from? Where does racism come from? Where does fear of the other come from? And fear of the other is what helped me kind of trace this path, right? And I started thinking about it like in evolutionary terms about like how somebody that doesn't look like you, somebody that speaks different than you, somebody that has different culture than you, why would that cause fear? And you start to look at things in evolution of like diseases being spread, or potentially back then when there's like no police force or no security to like enforce your like safety. People that come from other cultures, you fear them because you don't understand them. You don't know whether or not they're a threat or not. And it really helped me kind of dive a little bit deeper into why racism is so ingrained in such some cultures. And it helped me to better understand okay, these people, they're hateful because they're stupid. They're hateful because they're uneducated. And the bare basic minimum, they're hateful because they don't understand. And so when we talk about what he's talking about, fear, and when we talk about what I'm talking about with fear, and when we talk about people being uneducated in this voter base, you start to understand why there's so much fear of the other, and you start to understand why certain politicians understand that this is something that they could take advantage of with these people because they're poorly educated. They're not interested in becoming better educated because they think that it's almost an insult to be intellectual. And look at what they talk about with professors in liberal colleges and stuff like that. Like they make it an insult to be smart. And then you realize that the real form of control that conservatives and specifically MAGA Republicans have over their constituents is that their basis is poorly educated. Therefore, they are overly inundated with fear of the other. And that's why when he says early in this, why do we talk to these people? It's a good question. Because do you think you can solve this for these people? Do you think that you can help these people become better educated? Because that would be helpful. Do you think that you can show people the logical fallacies of why they shouldn't be afraid of others? Is that why? It's a really good question that he asked at the beginning of this video. Why should we continue to talk to these people?
Homophobia. Your chain is not having, but it is the rich that holds you back from not having because intellectually they know you're inept. All they got to do is put red meat in your face. Racism, sexism, we don't like these people, immigrants.
Yep,
and you go running toward that. But ask them what plan do they have for you to have a better life? Kicking other people out? Well, guess
it's
what?
Always doing
if they
something
kick
to
out the
somebody
immigrants
else.
in your community, who do you think gonna do the grunt work? White people, because ain't nobody else in your community. So the grunt workers get kicked out. So white people, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna put robots in your community.
Really funny story. So I work with local farmers and stuff, right? And this, I was sitting in a produce meeting with my department manager, and I was going through numbers, and I was looking through local stuff because we really push local stuff really hard, being a health food store. And I go, I see grapes on here. They're way up on the list, and then I'm looking at your list from last month's sales. I'm not seeing any grapes locally. I'm like, is that seasonal? What's the issue? And she goes, oh, I called him. And by the way, this is a white man, okay? She's like, called him, and I asked, hey, what about those grapes you guys had for us last year? They were really good, and they sold really well. And he said, yeah, it's just too much work. It's really hard to pick grapes. Do you know who picks grapes? Guess who picks grapes in California? It's immigrants. There's a really cool movie called A Million Miles Away that talks about the first immigrant astronaut. Go watch that movie. Tell me what that family is doing for the very first like quarter to half of that movie. They're picking grapes. This guy, who's a white man, farmer, he's a farmer. He's a hard worker. Like, dude's a hard worker. Picking grapes was too much work for him. This is a guy he's not lazy, but it was too much work for him. Those immigrants do jobs that nobody wants to do. You know why? Because they have motivation to do jobs that nobody else wants to do. Here in America, we're very entitled. So this guy, he thinks, oh, I could grow grapes, or I could just grow melons, make just as much money. He's got the ability to do so. These immigrants are coming here, and they're working as hard as they work because they come from places that don't have the entitlements, the amenities that we have in America, and it motivates them to work hard. So when these people say they're afraid that these immigrants are going to take their job, you know what they're really afraid of? That an immigrant will work harder than they will. That's what they're afraid of. That's crazy. Yeah, it's not always...
And give your ass
exactly,
those whack-ass jobs in which you're going to be making barely anything, or you're going to have to move out of the state or the city. I mean, be realistic, people. Pay attention. I don't understand how you guys have lived this long to not realize that a party that has never created a plan to help you. They have never focused on you. If they have, it's been so long ago, it's in the fucking rearview mirror, you can't see it anymore. Here you are talking about a Democrat party, talking about giving you $25,000 for your first home. If you've never owned a home and you in your 50s because you're one of the working class or the working poor, giving you $25,000 in the community that you're living in is a godsend. That's going to help you get property. That's going to help you end up getting loans. That's going to help you be able to get insurance. That's going to help you to have stock in this country. It's going to have equity in this country all these years. And that's something that you got.
And how did Republicans convince you that this is a bad thing? They did it with fear. Republicans convinced other Republicans the reason that they should, mind you, Republicans, their voter basis is poor, uneducated people. The people that need this money the most are the poorly uneducated, unhomed people on the right. This is literally a benefit for them. And what do? They go, well, if they give you $25,000 extra dollars, forget the fact that you're going to be able to buy a home. Okay, forget that. It's going to cost you $25,000 more. Oh, word? Yeah, it's going to cost you $25,000 more, because if people know about this, they're going to just raise the price of homes by $25,000. That doesn't make any sense. As a person that owns a home, I'm going to put it up for the cost, the estimate of what it's worth, not $25,000 above the estimate, because that means I'm literally clipping away the majority of people that are buying homes. The majority of people buying homes aren't new home buyers. I'm trying to find somebody that wants to buy a home from me. I'm not going to be dependent on a $25,000 grant being the reason that a person wants to buy my house. I'm going to be open to all offers from all people. Therefore, I'm not going to make my home worth $25,000 more than it's worth, because if I do that, I am literally saying to anybody that does not get that grant that I am going to charge them $25,000 more than the home is worth, making them say, fuck that, I'm not buying that guy's house. So that means I literally am going to be sitting around waiting for somebody to come that is capable of buying my house under that program. Not to mention that you're offsetting the costs of the homes, the demand of the homes, by putting 3 million new homes in America, potentially up to 5 million new homes in America, which will drive down demand, because right now I think it's like 1.4 million is what we believe we need. So if you have 3 million to 5 million more homes, then we oversaturate the market, which actually drives my home price down. So if there's anybody that actually should be against what Kamala Harris wants to do, it should be me, because it's going to reduce what my house is worth, not increase it. It's not going to increase my home's value by putting a bunch of other homes out there for people to buy. It's going to reduce it. Yet I am the person that's saying to you that I am not afraid of that. I'm okay. I've done well. I'm in a good place. I'm not afraid that my home's value will go down. I just want you guys to be able to afford your first home. Don't be afraid. Stop being so goddamn scared. Stop letting them control you with fear. Let people buy houses.
Got the grab on. This motherfucker talking about tax cuts, which is going to give to the wealthy who's supposed to create jobs, and if they don't, you still fucked. And you literally have no other plan but to stick with the man that wants to shank you. Everything he talks about, he cannot produce. And nothing he talks about is specific enough to know what it's going to look like. And if you're going back to 4 years ago, our economy was fucked. And you're trying to go back 6 years ago, Obama's economy that he was trying to hold on to and couldn't, the man who could have handled COVID like other countries.
Yeah, look up the statistics on Obama going into Trump. And here's the one thing I will say. Our economy, one of the things I dislike about what people say is our economy has actually been incredibly strong for a very long time. And that is even with Donald Trump's inadequacy as a president. Obama, other than small blips, the housing collapse and bank failures, COVID, and the Great Depression, which I know those aren't small blips, but in my opinion, when you look at it as a greater picture, the American economy is actually amazing, and we don't get to pat ourselves on the back enough about that. The American economy has been amazing. And the job that Obama did, and I disliked the bailing out of the banks, I disliked Obama's pandering to corporate interests. But the thing you cannot deny is that Barack Obama took a economy in 2009 that was left to him by George Bush that was faltering, dying, and potentially was going to fail. Like everything Donald Trump is trying to convince you of right now was actually happening in 2009. And with all of that being said, he did things with the economy that no one believed he could do with the economy. And Donald Trump benefited from that. Donald Trump had a ball that was rolling down the hill, picking up steam, and Donald Trump gave it an incline to have to deal with. By the time we got to 2020, I will say this with utter confidence, that if COVID did not happen and Donald Trump was reelected, which is likely that he would have been reelected in 2020 without COVID, I believe he would have been reelected. If he would have been given another 4 years to continue his policies, America could potentially right now be back where it was in 2009. I believe that, and I can show you why I believe that with statistics. Because everything that Barack Obama did, Donald Trump wanted to undo. You don't have to believe me. You can go look up Donald Trump saying those words. I will undo everything Barack Obama did. Why would you take an economy that had literally pulled itself up out of like a recession, that literally brought us back into being the superpower of the world in economies, and then undo all of those policies? If I walked into a grocery store to become its CEO, and the guy before me had taken it from almost failing to being one of the top grocery chains in the world, do you think the first thing that I would do would be to roll back his policies? Or do you think I would take a look at what he did and go, woo, thank you. That's good. I'm going to start some of those things. I might finagle some things. I might change a couple small things. You don't mess with success. And Donald Trump decided to mess with success. You give him 4 more years in that economy, and we would be way worse off than we are today, even without COVID. I bet I can prove that.
Years ago, our economy was fucked. And he's trying to go back 6 years ago, Obama's economy that he was trying to hold on to and couldn't. The man who could have handled COVID like other countries did that didn't have to shut down, but instead, when he was handed a task, he fumbled, and he had many chances in there to pick the ball up and run some yards. But no, he kept the ball on the ground, didn't do nothing.
Yep.
His thing was, let me divide the people so they won't recognize how fucked up I did. And he divided everybody so that you wouldn't recognize that the reason why your family members were dying was because this fool didn't know how to manage shit. Then you start to find out all his businesses have barely anybody in them. You find out that Trump Tower, when they decided to come there and do the show that you guys loved him in so much, his office smelled like total shit. He couldn't even manage his own $1 million spot. It smelled like crap, and they had to build a place because they couldn't do it in his crappy-ass office, and they built him up to be this big businessman, and he had a trashy-ass, trailer-ass home inside of a multi-million-dollar building.
Snap.
Y'all know how to pick them. That's all I got to say. Y'all know how to pick them. But I want to speak to the average intelligent, the genius, regular folk. Y'all dumbasses, we need to leave them alone. We need to stop talking to them. We need to stop giving them opportunities. We need to stop fighting for them. We need to just leave them alone and let them just die out. Because I'm telling you, these fools can't do shit on their own. We cannot rely on dipshits to help run our country. There's a lot of them, but there's more of us.
He's right.
And once we can get to a point where we don't allow them in the process, they can vote all they want, but we should gang up on them as far as number-wise goes and give them fucking nothing. They don't want nothing but bullshit. They want lies. We need to do our thing, good people, and get them out the process. Not Republicans, MAGA. They need to get out of the process. Get back into the cave in which they came. Go back and learn something. Go to school and learn civics.
And see, we're getting better at this. Like you said, MAGA. Not talking to Republicans. I'm talking to MAGA.
Take credibility for your fuck-ups and then come back when you have some kind of saneness in your fucking brain. Other than that, stop it. Just stop it. We're sick of y'all. You people are out here trying to act like you're intelligent when you're dumb as fuck. Just simple shit. Ask you, when was the last time the Republicans did something for you? And you have no answer. Your answer is what? Tax cuts. That was for the rich. What else have they done for you? Well, they created other plans. No, they focus on the rich and somehow you benefited. But for the most part, the rich benefited the majority.
Yeah.
How about when was the last time the Republicans created a plan that the poor, the working class poor, because y'all want to call yourselves working class, but you're working class poor, right? When have you guys benefited the most? They always talk about middle class. Do you understand that the working class, poor people, low income, there's more of you than there are middle class. So how about them creating something for the working class poor and the low income people so that they can move to the middle class? How about from the bottom up? They never say helping the working poor, because you know why? Because most of y'all who are working poor won't admit it. You literally think you're middle class. You're not. That's another problem we got in this country, accepting where you really fucking are. Once you can take responsibility of where you fucking are, that's when you're going to be able to become where you.
And people want to, like, they want you to believe that getting 10% while the rich get 90% is just like that's what you should get. That's who you are. That's the middle class. That's what we get. No. It's terrible. It's terrible.
You think you're middle class. You're not. That's another problem we got in this country, accepting where you really fucking are. Once you can take responsibility of where you fucking are, that's when you're going to be able to become where you want to be. But if you already think you're there, what are you working for? If you think you're already there, you're not. Face the facts. then move your ass to the next class. But you can't move to the next class if you think you're already there. There's no drive to get somewhere where you think you're already at. There's only drive to get to places that you want to be. And if you can barely afford anything, and you're talking about, I couldn't get bacon, I couldn't get eggs, then your ass is one of the working poor. I don't care how much money you make. If you mismanage your money,
good point.
And every end of the month, you barely got anything in the bank, and you barely got any savings, but yet you got a nice car, a nice house, and all that, you're still working poor. You're not middle class because you live in a middle class neighborhood. You're still the working poor if you don't have any money saved up. If you're 4 or 3 paychecks away from being broke out on the street, you are the working poor. If you don't have investments that can last you from now until the day you die, you are the working poor. So please stop it. Accept where you are. There's nothing wrong being where you are. Some people like being the working poor. They don't want the responsibility or the hard work. But if you want to get to the middle class and then get to the upper class and then help your own people out, then you got to admit where the fuck you are so you can get where the fuck you want to be.
And that's what you're supposed to do, is you're supposed to work hard to get to a point where you can help other people. It shouldn't be, I'm working hard to leave people behind. It should be, you don't need to give away your wealth. You don't need to give away your safety, your security. There's things that you do as a person that accomplishes things that create like a confidence within yourself to say to other people, like, you can do this too. It's like, if I can find purpose, then I want to help other people find purpose, right? Like, so like, if I can join the middle class, the upper middle class, then I want to help others do the same. Like, this is not a zero-sum game, and it should never be looked at as a zero-sum game. It should never be 1% of our society gets to take home the majority of the pie while the other 99% of us all fight for the scraps. Like, that's insane. That's why I talk about the uber wealthy. I'm not talking about the wealthy. I'm talking about the uber wealthy. I'm talking about billionaires. I'm talking about gigantic corporations. I'm talking about BlackRock. I'm talking about, like, it's not fair to the people that are attempting to like keep this country running, the engine, the middle class, the lower working class. Those people have voted against their own interests for so goddamn long because they've been convinced they don't deserve to live the life. And then when they do get to live the life, they look at the people below them and say, those people don't deserve to live this life. It's crazy.
Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to people around you, because it ain't going to help
Golf
you.
Marine.
Opportunities for what you want to be come when you're seeking them. If you already think you're there, you ain't seeking it. You're expecting it just to come to your house, knock on your door and say, hey, here's more money. It ain't going to happen that way. And Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, they ain't bringing that to your doorstep. That's something you're going to have to do. But you know what, though? Out of the 2 candidates, there's only one talking about giving you $25,000 so you can finally own your own fucking home. Be able to have write-offs every year, get some tax money back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's only one person talking about that.
Feels good.
So
when
you
do
have
that.
a house for a long time, which means you have a write-off for a long time. That means every year you'll be able to get a few $1,000s back just because you got a house. You can write shit off, right?
Dude.
Instead of having an apartment.
What Ozzy just said. Ozzy just said, socialism never took root in USA because workers don't think they are poor, but temporary, humiliated millionaires. That is spot on. I like to say what Legion Miller likes to say, or did say, and she said, average everyday Americans believe they are one good idea from being a millionaire. But the reality is you are 2 small mistakes from being poverty-stricken. Like, that is spot on. The American populace is happy to complain about where they are, but when offered any type of solution that involves helping somebody else in their community, they will deny it and decline it every single time. Every time they'll say no because somebody else has helped. Like you said, people just aren't smart. It's sad.
Just because you got a house, you can write shit off, right? Instead of having an apartment, that means you can buy stock and then become middle class. Yeah. What is Donald Trump? Tax cuts. What's that going to do to you? So you can get a PS5 and still be in the same fucking position?
Exactly.
Man, if y'all don't shut the fuck up with this shit, you need to learn about how your life in this country really works. If you really think a tax cut is going to help your ass move from one class to another. Getting a house will. Yes, it will. It's just insane how you guys don't even think.
They don't even think. They don't understand that when the ultra wealthy gets big, huge tax cuts like they did, right? And the middle class gets a small tax cut, which is the biggest tax cut in American history, which is fucking insane. But when that happens, what middle class people and lower middle class people don't understand is when we need to make that money back up that those taxes gave you, you pay them. The ultra wealthy does not. The ultra wealthy has been avoiding taxes through the use of loopholes and lobbying for so long. Like, the money has to come back from somewhere, right? For tax cuts. You pay that. So you never got a tax cut. You got given a lump sum of money, and you're like, dope. And they're like, hey, just so you know, please go spend that. And you're like, oh, okay, no problem. And you go out and you spend all of that money from those tax cuts. And then, like, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years later, they go, hey, you know that money we gave you? We need that money back, and we actually need, like, twice what we gave you. Oh, why? Because these ultra-wealthy billionaires, they don't pay their fair share. They could have paid for that for you, but they don't like to do that because they like taking as much money as they can and keeping it because they like having it. That's why people are dumb when they talk about the tax cuts.
It will. Yes, it will. It's just insane how you guys don't
What up,
even
Doc?
think about progression. You think about your feelings and your dear leader. These people do. And even Democrats may think that one person can solve it. No, it's about fighting for what you need. And if you don't need $25,000 to get a house, if you don't need 3 more million homes being built so that we can be able to have more affordable housing, then you're really not trying to be a part of the country and take a stake in it. You're just trying to live in it till you die. If you ain't got nothing to leave your family, if you ain't got nothing that you got anything can hold on, what was the purpose of your life? Just to come here, have a ball, and die? Or are you going to leave something for your families? All right, then. I think for the sane people, the intellectual people, you're talking about leaving shit for your family. And the only person that's talking about doing that for you and for me is Kamala Harris. When and if she's elected, don't stop until you get your 25 G's. If you want a home, if you want to be a part of the country and have an investment and a stake in it, make sure these policies are pushed so that your life will become better. It's time to move from the working class, poor, to the middle class. And in the middle class, it's time to move to the upper class. Those things can't happen if we don't have the rich paying their fair share and therefore not draining us with all the taxes and giving us tax cuts and not them, having them pay more taxes. Sounds good to me, working poor. Sounds good to me, middle class. And the wealthy knows it sounds good. They're just too fucking greedy. They want it all while telling you somebody's taking it from you when it's actually them. I said what I said. I speak facts. Straight facts. No chaser. Fuck your feelings.
And 4 Patriots hooked us up. This is a new product
I
here
love
they
that,
came
man.
out with. It is meat in a can. All right.
Look, of all the people that I could work with on the internet, I would like to work with Brian Tyler Cohen. But of all the people I'd like to sit down and have a conversation, drink a beer, have a good time with, is that man right there. What he said, like, this is a, you know, sometimes it feels weird to be up here. Sometimes it feels weird to, like, reach people. I think my channel hit 3.5 million views for the last 2 years. To think that, like, 3.5 million people have watched the stuff I've done is, like, that's insane to me. Or not, my stuff's been viewed 3.5 million times by a certain amount of people. 18,000 subscribers. Like, sometimes it feels really weird to think that, like, the things that we're talking about actually, like, they matter. Like, these are things that, like, hopefully influence, like, positive outcomes. But when you hear me say these things, when you hear that guy say things, and we've never met in our life, that man's probably never watched a single thing that I've ever made, you got to ask yourself, like, what's going on here? And what's the reason behind it? And it's a movement. It really is. It's weird to say, but it's a movement. There are people in our country, in our communities, that are wisening up. And this has happened before. We've had chances to do something about it before. We have. And we didn't take those chances because we allowed, like he said, the stupid among us, the idiots, to drown out the smart people. We allowed fear and anger and hatred to control a part of our populace to keep us from making any type of progress, because any type of progress that we make is a negative for these big corporations, for the uber wealthy, for the Elon Musk, for the Peter Thiels. You're part of a movement. And just like what he said about the lower class, the middle class not wanting to agree that they're lower class, well, on the other side of that, there's another thing to say, and that is that you are important, that you're part of a movement, that you can make a difference, but you gotta recognize that you're part of that movement, because if you don't like take it seriously, if you don't muckrake, if you don't become an activist, if you don't like speak with your chest and talk honestly and do the right things, then we'll just fail again. All right, guys. Thank you for being here on the Saturday morning show. Everybody that mentions my channel everywhere, you guys have no idea how much I love you. Like I'm a man of the people. Like even when it comes to running my store, it's like I don't want things to ever be this like contrived thing where things are paid for. Like I would never pay for views, I'd never pay for subscribers. Like I want everything to happen organically. And you guys getting out and like saying stuff about me and my channel makes me feel really good. So thank you for that. Do I think that Jon Stewart should run for office? I think that of all people, like I've heard it a million times. I've heard people say Rogan should run for office. I've heard, people say celebrities, they like Taylor Swift should run for office. I think if there is one person that legitimately could be experienced enough to be a politician and run our country, I think Jon Stewart has the experience in politics to be a very good candidate for the United States, president of the United States of America. Oh, thank you, Tia. Tia! You are the best, Tia. Congratulations to everybody that got Aussie. You got one. Cheyenne, you got one. Human, you got one. Cajun, you got one. Thank you, guys. Thank you for doing things like that, helping other people out. I fucking love you guys. I really do. I like, seeing you guys do stuff for each other. Like, that's like the coolest thing ever. Like, if there's anything that like a real leader should feel good about, it's not that they do the best things. It's that the people that follow you do the best things. Like that's a reflection of you. So thank you, Tia. I really appreciate that. My rich aunt Tia. All right, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Keep telling people about my channel. Let's see. For my football fans, there's no Eagles game this week, so tomorrow I will be up and I will be talking about football, and I'll probably be more positive than I've ever been before because I won't have to talk about my Eagles. I know my Lions fans, you're also on bye this week. I got no Amon-Ra St. Brown, but my team is killing it in that league, so I think I should be okay. My team in my own league is 0-4. We are having a very tough time, but in my other two leagues, we're 2-2. We're still in it. There's still a chance. So if you're a football fan and you like to hear people talk about football, I love football. I've been watching football forever. If you want just like a palate cleanser to get away from politics for 15 minutes and enjoy talking about what you hate about me being an Eagles fan, we will be on live stream tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning, to talk for about half an hour, 40 minutes about the football season so far. And it's already week 5, guys. It's flying right now. It's crazy. Football has actually like changed this election season for me so much because now it's like actually like it's going by quicker, which is a good feeling. We're either rushing towards the end or we're rushing towards towards a positive outcome. We're gonna find out what happens, but yeah, football is making it easier to deal with. So if you guys want to watch me football 9:00 tomorrow, next live stream after football tomorrow will be Tuesday at 5:00 Pacific. New videos coming out almost every single day. So if you like my stream and you enjoy the live stream, but you missed it, you can check out the videos. We got a Roseanne Barr video out right now. We got a the Republicans who are trying to steal the election video that's out right now, and there should be actually a video that comes out tonight talking about the highlights from the vice presidential debate as well. So like them, share them, subscribe, do everything you can, comment, tell me I'm bad, tell me I'm good, tell me whatever you want, but leave a comment, please. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You guys are literally the best human beings in the world. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.